Yeah, so Biden is having the DOJ look into reclassifying marijuana from Schedule One. That's something that's being looked into right now. But we're ready to pull the trigger on the student loan forgiveness. It's just the government's being sued, and so some lawsuits are going through right now. But they quickly getting tossed. But yeah, Trump could have easily done that. So Trump could have done a lot of things. Trump could have got the bipartisan infrastructure bill done.
Hey, man,
That
he
Joe Biden
promised for
got done in
four
his first year.
years. He made
Yeah, it took
attempts,
him 4 years.
and now it took Biden less than one. So when people want to talk about, you know, Trump's business savvy and the fact that he's such a superior negotiator, it took Biden less than one quarter of the time to get a deal that Trump sought for four. So it's just he's
I think that that's probably emotionally the hardest one for me. When people call Trump like a good businessman, he is so bad that I like lose my shit. I got into a screaming match in my chat earlier about it. Like, he couldn't bring anybody together on any legislation. He constantly blamed every single person around him, and he wouldn't take accountability for a single fucking issue. It actually, like, it sends me up the wall so fucking much when people say, "Oh, he's a businessman." How?
do the people that you'll be facing off with on this Lauren Chen thing, like how many of them are Trump stans?
All of them are, but they're all gonna say,
Yeah, all of
"I
them.
don't support Trump," but that's how they all work. They're all such fucking pussies over it. I hate it. It's so cringe. Like, dude, I'll ride with Biden until I die. And these people are like, "Well, I'm not like the biggest Trump supporter, but..." Every single Trump talking point comes out of their mouths. Every fucking time it happens. God, it's so irritating.
Yeah,
Well, yeah, I mean,
well, no, please go ahead.
I don't know. I'm just trying to think what other things they'll bring up, but I think crime's going to be a big thing for them too, saying that people are too scared to go outside, and the you can bring up that the murder per capita rate is higher
Considerably
in
higher.
Republican states.
Yeah,
Yeah.
8 out of 10 of the leading crime-ridden states are all red.
I think that's a scary metric to go by because they're gonna say, "Yeah, but it's gonna be high crime in blue cities, right?"
Yes, but you can
Like,
tell them
Illinois
that
Illinois must be a red state, right? But Chicago is like
Illinois is blue.
Illinois is blue. Oh, I'm just kidding. There's got to be there's got to be red states with blue cities that have high crime, right?
Well, let's take a look. Let me take a look.
Or take a look. Maybe
Yeah,
they'll
I'm gonna
know.
take a look.
Fucking look out, yeah.
I
But
feel
you can let
like,
them know that
well,
the
while we're
murder
talking, I
rate is
feel like
higher
criminologically, right, that the, crime is correlated with population, right? I assume that that's the case, that generally speaking, the higher population density, or the greater the population, generally speaking, in raw numbers, you see more crime. So to me, it says something that if that is true, the fact that red states, are still per capita, like IRI said, more crime ridden. I feel like that at least it may not refute their argument that, hey, blue cities have more crime generally speaking than the holler, but you got to again look at the per capita rate. That's what scientists put more emphasis on.
Sure, maybe. I guess those arguments are really hairy, and I feel like you can dance around on either side because I think the argument is that I could be wrong, but I feel like I read something recently that said that Chicago is not even in the top 10 violent crime cities when you do the per capita. But people are going to point out that's because Chicago's population is so high, and there's non-violent parts of the city that are basically.
So yeah, so I'm looking here, top 10 murder rates, and I'll send you the link, thirdway.org. But it's Mississippi, Louisiana, Kentucky, Alabama, Missouri, South Carolina, then New Mexico, which is the first blue state on the list, then Georgia. And the only reason they're counting Georgia, I think, is because Georgia did vote Biden, right? IRI in 2020, like it swung for Biden.
Georgia.
Did it swing for Biden?
Yeah.
Oh,
So that's why they count it as a blue state, even though that's obviously not.
Wait, link me
the
that.
case. Yeah, I'll link it to you.
Well, here's what they'll say. That's even further. They'll say the reason why crime is higher in blue cities is because of progressive policies like no cash bail. And you can push back on that and say, well, the entire state of Alaska got rid of cash bail in 2018. Why don't we ever talk about the woke state of Alaska? They never want to talk about other areas that got rid of cash bail. And cash bail is just getting people back into the communities. It's not used for violent crimes. If you get charged with murder, you're innocent until proven guilty, but you're not getting out on bail with no cash just because there's no cash bail. You know what I mean? It's more for smaller crimes, so people get back in the community, can go to work and not lose their job, because that's what causes more crime when you have to sit in jail because you can't afford $500 bail.
Sure.
Isn't that something that was pointed out to again, conservatives when they would discuss the per capita crime rate among African Americans, was the fact that there's at least some attribution to the fact that so many of these households were like fatherless or whatnot. There were so many, households where the fathers were imprisoned, that was one of the reasons why you saw like the ongoing feedback loop in crime.
Yeah, people can't afford to bail themselves out, and it just compounds their problems and makes things worse and worse, and it doesn't solve anything. And we shouldn't be punishing people because they don't have money when it comes to things like that. So,
Yeah,
and
cash
like I
bail in
said,
the United States is wild to me. I don't know why we have that. It seems kind of weird.
yeah, but they're pointing to it. They're abusing it right now. Like and the other funny thing is in New York State they have Lee Zeldin, the Republican, trying to take out Kathy Hochul, the Democrat, and he's running on crime. So if crime isn't the governor's responsibility, why are they hell-bent and focused on that in New York State, trying to win the race there on it? They're just running ads of people getting punched in the face on the subway all day long out there. But that's what they're gonna fight you on, is progressive policies are causing all these problems. But the truth is,
some of the progressive DAs in a couple states. I know what happened in California, in northern. I think it might have been the San Francisco DA. The idea of that like not prosecuting like certain dollar amounts for crimes was probably a bad idea, and I think a lot of them got like kicked out and were very electorally unpopular, and it got a lot of Democrat people running who were talking about like being tougher on crime too. So.
Hey, FYI, looking at this link here, I'm sorry, I'm trying to multitask here, but looking at that link I sent you, the abstract in it, and I'm just doing like a control F for CIT for cities in general, just to see what it says about cities versus states. But the lead paragraph in the abstract says, but despite a media narrative to the contrary, this is a problem that afflicts Republican cities and states as much or more than Democratic bastions. So I'm sure there's something in this super long article that will that provide you ammunition. When you talked to whoever, you said that somebody triggered the fuck out of you today. What were some of the things that they said about Trump? Because I'm sure those will also be talking points that Chen and...
I could say Trump attacking the electoral integrity of the country is one of my biggest triggers.
Yep. Well,
Yeah.
that erodes trust in government, period. Then people don't heed warnings to get out of the way of a hurricane, and like what happened in Florida, people just sit in their homes and they get killed, And so it's dangerous for a lot of reasons to not trust government.
Yeah, it's absolutely, and he still did it. I think last night I listened to him give another speech where he's still doing it. He's still crying about this stolen election.
Well, every political commentator, like professional and otherwise, has commented that's part of the reason why they wanted Trump to kind of take a peripheral role during this election cycle, because they were worried he was going to spend more time litigating 2020, and instead of like focusing on hitting Biden for the perceived Biden weakness. The thing about the institutions, though, that kind of pisses me off is that it seems like the Trump stands will argue out of both sides of their mouth on this. They'll say, on the one hand, we revere the founding fathers and the Constitution and the Bill of Rights and this framework that they set up. And on the one hand, they've like fully embraced or at least tolerate the GOP becoming a cult in service to a man who is the antithesis of everything the founding fathers stood for. Like people talk about like originalism and appealing to what were the founding fathers thinking. Like, does anyone seriously think that George Washington, John Adams, Thomas Jefferson, all those people would have been like, hey, this dude loses the election both in terms of the popular vote and the electoral college vote. Should he be able to pressure his vice president into just saying, no, I'm going to stick around? They would all say the 18th century equivalent of fuck no. Like that's the thing that kind of confuses me. Like there's no expectation of consistency for Trump stands. And I wonder what happens if and when you point that out. Like, how can you simultaneously revere the founding fathers and all this?
You can't, because they'll just say, like, oh, well, I don't really support Trump 100%. I know that he has a lot of problems, but I just like his message. Like, they always retreat to some, like, fucking cucky bullshit like that. They are so cucked and tepid in their defense of Trump that, like, when they're in closed doors, they've got the knee pads out and they're fucking filleting the fuck out of him. But as soon as they go into any public platform where they're going to get any pushback, like, oh, well, I don't 100% stand by everything Trump says, and yeah, a lot of it is kind of crazy, lol. But they act totally different when they're on their own social media.
So they'll dissemble then, like that.
Yeah,
like,
of course. Yeah, they'll just say like, oh yeah, no, I don't fully support Trump, but I just don't like a lot of things Biden's doing, or I want like Trump's administration or whatever the bullshit that fucking means. Half of them are in fucking jail now. But yeah.
There was a CNN or MSNBC interview a couple of weeks ago, and somebody was like following up on, the big lie and where Trump supporters feel about it now since the January 6th committee was dying down. And the interviewer asked so many good questions, but the obvious one, I mean, it may not be obvious. I may be completely wrong about this, but to me, intellectually, it seems like this is the big gotcha. Like, okay, you ask all these questions, they either don't seem to care about it, or they support it, or they're indifferent to it, whatever. But then you ask him, okay, picture this. It's January 2013. Barack Obama lost his reelection bid. Mitt Romney won. And instead of conceding the election, he proclaimed without evidence that it was stolen, blah, blah, blah. And he tried to pressure then Vice President Joe Biden into not certifying the votes. What would you have done then in that hypothetical? And just to see.
I don't think you can ask it because they'll always say that, like, well, no, it's different because Trump actually has evidence. Like, that's what they'll say. They always, even though the judiciary has rebuked him at every turn, even though his own elected or his own appointed officials like Barr and the FBI rebuked him at every turn, even though every single person, you have to keep in mind, and you guys can be wrong, I'm pretty sure every single part of the U.S. institution, his nominated people or otherwise, rebuked him on that. Pence did.
Yes.
I don't think anybody else, I don't think he had a single member supporting him. So if that's the case, like, what, then they're lost. Like, what am I supposed to say to him? Like there's no foundation. Sorry, go ahead.
Well, they did it under oath too, especially
Under
William
oath,
Barr.
yes.
He said under oath with the
That was my
January
favorite
6th
shit about
committee.
Giuliani. He had a lot of shit to say before he went under oath, motherfucker. Yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think you pointed that out, that it's different when, there's like the threat of perjury involved,
Yeah, no shit. Yeah, when you're actually fucking held accountable. Rosenthal, I think was his name, he said it best when Jim Jordan was asking him, well, what about reports in the media about people doing this and that? And his response was, listen, if you want to talk to them, bring them up here and put them under oath. Otherwise, shut the fuck up. Why would you make a motherfucker under oath try to answer for people that aren't otherwise? That's bullshit. And yeah, and the refusal of a lot of these guys to go under oath to answer any questions, while Trump himself has said shit on the trail like, well, even if you're under investigation by the FBI, that in and of itself is a huge red flag. Like, fuck you, dude. Oh, God, it's so cringe. How many hours was Hillary under oath for the Benghazi shit?
Like 16, wasn't it, or something like that?
How many depositions did she do for the email shit, right? Like, how many has Trump gone under oath a single time for anything relating to his accusations or any?
No, I think
the double standard is unbelievable. Do you understand? It's unbelievable. It's like two separate realities.
IRI, didn't he like resist the subpoena? Like, didn't they issue a subpoena and he just like gave them the finger, and then they gave them the January 6th committee gave him an extension? I thought they issued a subpoena to Trump at the very end.
Yeah, they
I don't
voted
remember
on
the
it.
Could you imagine if the documents thing had happened at Obama's fucking personal house? What just happened with the FBI fucking raided and seized shit from Trump? Can you imagine? Like, I could ask that for a million things for Trump. Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Could you imagine if Obama, a black man in the United States, had like 2 ex-fucking wives and was paying off porn stars to fuck them behind his wife's back? Like, could you imagine if he imported a wife from fucking Eastern Europe and married her and was running around? Could you imagine if his fucking son-in-law, Obama's son-in-law, and all these people were nominated and put in the White House? Like, it would, fuck. It would be unbelievable, right? All of this would be any one of these things would be unbelievable. But Trump did all of it.
Truly, I
like,
say
people
unto you.
people accuse like Hillary Clinton and all these people of like having their families in bed with the government because like Chelsea Clinton makes a speech or does some dumb shit, and it's. Oh, sorry. I'm done. Okay.
Oh, dude, they're just getting started. Watch, when the GOP takes over the House, which I think they probably will. It's a slim chance we hold on to it. But when they take over, from day one, it's going to be Hunter Biden's laptop.
Yeah.
There's a whole chain of custody on that. Who knows how that happened? Remember,
It's
they
gonna be
got
the
that
Hillary
laptop.
emails.
Yeah, that's going to be the next 2 years. It's going to be Hunter Biden's laptop. Who knows how they got that laptop, if it's even really his? The FBI's had it since the summer Trump was still in office.
To be
And
clear, I think the FBI has confirmed that it is his laptop, right?
well, yeah, but it's like
No,
dropped
they
it off at a
confirmed.
laptop repair store.
I'm
and
sorry,
the
didn't they?
guys
They
who
only
did it
confirmed that some of the stuff on it was his, right? They never. I don't think there's ever been like a forensic audit which says like literally everything that's allegedly on the hard drive is his.
Well, we don't know the stuff that gets leaked to the New York Post. Who knows what the hell any of that is. But the point of the matter is the FBI's had the laptop since the summer of 2020 when Trump was still in office. And the only thing they're going to end up charging Hunter with, if they do, is not paying some taxes, which he has since paid, and lying on a form to buy a gun about his past drug use out of embarrassment. That's the worst they got on him. But they're going to spend the next 2 years trying to show that he's some criminal mastermind that has businesses around the world and is just milking everybody with the Biden crime family. But it is what it is. Get ready.
Well, and a couple of things to point out too, Destiny, like to keep in your back pocket if this comes up on the Hunter Biden thing. Number one, obviously you don't give a shit about Hunter Biden, so it should be easy for you to go like, look, dude committed a crime, bring charges if he's, if the case can be made to a jury.
Hold on, wait, which crime?
whatever,
Two
like either
crimes.
tax
Well,
fraud.
maybe whatever, because their alleged crimes for Hunter Biden is that he was working with like Joe Biden.
That's why I'm
Biden.
saying whatever he's guilty of, whatever law enforcement can bring a credible case against, right? Which the law enforcement, the FBI, is still under the control of the executive branch, which is still under Biden. So it wouldn't be the GOP directing that. I'm saying in terms of like bringing formal charges. You probably feel the same way. I'm sure IRI does that, whatever. If they can make a case against him, charge him. If the charges are, the evidence is there, convict him, whatever. But the thing that I find interesting is the other remarkable thing about President Biden in this situation is, like IRI said, Hunter Biden's been investigated twice. And both those investigations, again, correct me if I'm wrong, IRI, they didn't conclude before Biden was inaugurated. So he allowed those investigations into his own son to continue, which I would argue is a superhuman act of integrity in this political climate, and certainly compared to the last guy. He could have fired the U.S. attorney that Trump appointed, I can't remember, what was the year, 2018, something like that, IRI, where there was like that initial, I'm blanking on the guy's name, but it was like out of New York or out of Delaware, something like that, where, anyway, Biden could have fired him when he was inaugurated. He didn't. He allowed a Trump-appointed official to continue investigating his son in this divisive political climate. So that's something else I think you could point out. Be like, hey, do you think Trump would ever allow that to happen? Like, can you imagine
the guy that was fucking firing anybody he fucking could that he felt was Jesus.
Yeah. I'm gonna look on that hard drive thing while we're talking.
Yeah, but they're gonna make up all sorts of stuff, Destiny, that Hunter Biden's involved in, and so Joe Biden in as well. They're going to say that he's trying to hook up the big guy, meaning Joe Biden, but there's no evidence of this. And like I said, they've had the laptop since the summer of 2020. Like, why have they not charged him yet? It's been years, you know what I mean?
So it says here,
that case.
oh, I'm sorry, all right, it just says here real quick that PolitiFact wrote in June 2021 that it's possible the copies of a laptop were obtained instead of Hunter Biden's actual laptop. The New York Times and Washington Post reported that their sources had authenticated a number of emails, including one that was the subject of the New York Post reporting. No more than 22,000 of the almost 130,000 emails on the hard drive were confirmed as authentic in 2022 by two forensic analysts who independently examined the data for the Washington Post. However, the analysts could not verify the vast majority of the data. So, I mean, obviously there's clearly shit on there that does belong to him, but pun intended, the jury's still out as to whether or not that hard drive is fully his.
Listen, everything I've seen from that laptop just makes me like Hunter Biden even more. Seems like a base Chad who parties with strippers and does drugs. Like, problem?
Dude, I've not seen the photos. Wasn't that a thing that got your ass in trouble, Destiny? As somebody like flashed some photos of Hunter Biden on something? Yeah.
Yeah. Pretty cringe they did that.
Yeah. So I've not had the pleasure.
The Durham. I think you're talking about Special Counsel Durham. Is that what you're talking about, Ruminate?
Maybe that's it. That sounds familiar. He's a U.S. attorney, right?
That was the special prosecutor that Trump assigned to look into the origin of the FBI's investigation to his campaign and ties to Russia, and they found nothing basically as well.
Okay, then that's a different one. I'm thinking of something else then. Yeah, and that turned out to be a giant nothing burger. The Durham thing. Let me look here. I'm telling you. Investigations, U.S. Attorney.
I'm just trying to think what other talking points are going to come up with these brainworm geniuses tonight that we could fill you in on. What about like as far as midterms go? Is there anything you feel that you'd like to know more about with the midterms, like any races or chances of the Dems taking this or that? Because it's going to be a few days. You're going to be going on there in the middle of the red mirage when they think they've won and stop the count. You know what I mean?
You think there's going to be a lot of mail-in voting here, like there was last time?
Yeah, more people are using it nowadays. A lot more people engaged in early voting, and a lot more people are using mail-in voting.
Is it going to be as dramatic as it was on presidential night?
What's that? You cut out a little bit for me.
Is it going to be as dramatic as it was on presidential election night in 2020? Damn, Brandon said it was 50 million. Holy shit. Is that true? That sounds insane.
50 million what?
Mail-in ballots?
Maybe. I mean, like 40 million people voted early and mailed in ballots and such too. So.
Okay. I'm sorry. Real quick again before I forget. It was a U.S. attorney named David Weiss that Trump appointed And even though Biden could have fired him when he was inaugurated, the investigation or the probe into Hunter Biden was allowed to continue on his watch. And I provided the screenshot and the link for you.
Well, yeah, and Biden kept Christopher Wray on, who was the FBI director that replaced James Comey after he wasn't deemed loyal enough to Donald Trump. So I think Biden has done a lot to show that he is nonpartisan when it comes to the DOJ and trying to let them do their thing.
It's never enough.
What is when you two argue with Trumpers on the sheer number of people in Trump's orbit who have either called him an idiot or like what's their what is their
It's
rationale?
always like deep state cope. It's always like, oh, these people were turned by the deep state or by the Mossad Jews or by whatever. There's always cope.
Okay, damn.
Unless you've heard any good, I don't know. Can you?
No. I mean, I'm just.
Barr is one of the fiercest fucking Trump defenders coming up, and even Barr, just rebuked almost everything that Trump said about election fraud, about the voting machines.
Yes.
Who, I don't know how a Trumple can possibly defend the fact that almost every single person in Trump's close circle has either betrayed him or turned their back on him, or Trump has turned their back on them. You tell me, what Republican talking points have you heard?
No, I mean, it's usually the equivalent of, jangling your car keys, or they'll say, they're rhinos, obviously,
Yeah.
or, they couldn't control him, that shit. But I didn't know if you two had heard differently because you probably have, outside of Twitter, I don't really have intense arguments with Trumpers except people in my family and my social circle. And it's just cult shit. But I assume that people again, Lauren Chen, Lauren Southern, actual justice warrior, that they probably have more sophisticated arguments than,
No, none of them.
Oh, okay.
I guarantee you none of them tonight. I hope I'm wrong, but I guarantee you none of them will try to defend Trump. They never do. They never do. Or maybe they will before I get there, and they'll be like, oh,
Well-
Trump's not perfect. But we'll see.
And this is why I was saying that I think Ron DeSantis is the heir apparent, and he's starting to take up a lot more oxygen in the room. And Trump is getting a little scared, starting to give him nicknames and such. So I think they're starting to get behind him because he's more focused on the future, where Trump just keeps airing his past grievances over and over and
Such
over.
a cry.
what was the nickname? Something
DeSanctimonious.
DeSanctimonious. Yeah, that's interesting.
Was that from Trump?
Yeah.
Yeah,
He just came up with that one.
that was the most complex multi-syllable word he has ever used in his entire fucking life too. So, got to give him credit.
That's a pretty good one.
Yeah.
I'll give him credit. Pretty funny. But Ron DeSantis is trying to win re-election as governor in Florida, so he can't really talk about running for president yet. But that's about to end tonight. He'll probably win, and then he'll enter the arena and let those two fight all day long.
Dude, did you watch the Charlie Crist debate with DeSantis where he flat out asked? He goes, "Hey, Ron, look at the camera, look at everybody in this room, and tell them you intend to serve a full 4-year second term as governor if you win re-election." And he was just kind of smile and just wouldn't answer the question.
Yeah, that was great. That was a fantastic debate. I wish Charlie Crist would win. Did you watch any of the debates, Destiny? Did you catch any of the debates on the midterms?
No, I saw a little bit of the Fetterman-Oz meltdown, but
Listen, that didn't even hurt Fetterman at all. There was some polls before and after, and it barely touched his approval rating or people's
that's
excitement
pretty funny
for him.
and pretty sad at the same
that wild?
time. But
Well, but I would vote for him if he was in a medically induced coma. The difference between D and R, people, if you're voting because of a guy's physical competence to be a U.S. senator, I think that's hilarious. You
I
are
think that's
so
fair.
ignorant.
No, well, no, not the
shot.
way. Sorry,
No.
no, not the way Republicans apply that standard. I mean, IRI's right. In this political climate, yeah, the D matters more than the R, period. Because if it really was about communicative skill and competence, then you probably would never have a Republican win an election at any time because George W. Bush was a shitty speaker, Donald Trump was a shitty speaker, Sarah Palin was a shitty speaker, Herschel Walker is a shitty speaker, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert, yada, yada, yada. For, again, every one incompetently, rhetorically incompetent Democrat, you've got 5 high-profile Republicans who are as bad, if not worse. And at least Fetterman can say, I had a stroke, and this may be temporary, and there's no evidence that it's cognitive impairment. It's just, hearing or auditory processing issues. So.
Wait, I gotta hear this argument though from Destiny. You think that there's a valid reason to vote for a guy for his physical well-being for office when it comes to such a difference between two candidates?
well, most people are going to say cognitively. At this point, like I go with like a batch of asparagus over Trump, of course. But most people are going to see somebody on a big cognitive decline, and they're going to worry about their ability to lead, right?
Yeah, I guess, but I mean, they're one of 2 senators, and most people, I think, don't even know what a senator does. You know what I'm saying? My big argument was, look, what skills does he need that were displayed on that debate stage? Which I think he did just fine. I know people are like, whoa, and it was tough for me to watch too. I mean, but you know, the guy's recovering from a stroke. But what skills of debate do you need?
I think the big thing that people on the right are going to say, because I've heard them say this before, is they're worried about like shadow candidates. Like people right now are worried that like Kamala Harris is actually the one running the government, right? Because of Biden's thing. So they're gonna say with him that like, oh, there's gonna be like a secret like candidate that's actually running things behind the scenes or whatever. Like that's what people are gonna accuse.
I got you.
Your
Then I would
chat
point to
is
Herschel Walker and say, what do you think that guy's? I wouldn't trust that guy driving the car. You know what I mean?
well, no, I think he can be trusted to drive a car. It's just like it takes him automatically to the nearest abortion clinic. So, based on his past history. True though, kind of true. Like if you look at his Waze app, like the first thing that pops up after maybe the gym is a place called the Coat Hanger or something like that. So, yeah.
Well,
Listen, that was the past. Okay, leave Herschel alone.
It was the past like
There's no
3 or
proof.
4 or 5 times. There was a lot. That was a lot of past. That was like
The
a.
funniest thing is one of those women claiming that she had an abortion ended up having a kid with him later. So he's calling one of the mothers of his children a liar. National television. It's pretty cold, man.
Man, that's the party of family values right there. Like there's so much family values. Just breathe it in. Your
Listen,
chat.
We may have.
I'm sorry, Desi. Your chat is like freaking out about Biden. They're like, "Have you guys listened to Biden? Biden's a shitty speaker." Blah blah blah. Like, because we're making fun of Trump and whatnot. I'm sorry. I know Biden is a gaffe machine. I get it. He has cringe moments, but Biden at his best, even now, can deliver a speech infinitely better than bigly monotone. You know, it's tremendous, guys.
Trump's teleprompter speech last night was pretty rough.
Yeah.
To be honest.
Yeah.
He said he's
But
got
but
big
also you have to keep in
announcement.
mind you're a little biased in a lot of what you say because a lot of the shit that you say that sounds stupid, like Republicans eat that shit up. They love it. They love the big shit. They love him sounding like a high functioning like Down syndrome person. Like that's cool for them. They enjoy it. There was a challenge that I gave at I think near like the beginning of his presidency that nobody ever rose to. Nobody was able to do this. I said that I'd give like $100 or whatever. Somebody could show me one clip of Trump talking about anything in the 4 years as president where he sounds intelligent, just one clip, and I'd give him $100. I just wanted to see one example of it, not a single example. Every single time he speaks, he sounds like a fucking moron. He doesn't sound insightful or intelligent. And the embarrassing moment for me was as an American, especially as things were unraveling still across Syria and then also across Ukraine, was listening to other world leaders talk about geopolitical events, especially Putin. It was embarrassing to go to listening to somebody like Vladimir Putin talking about geopolitical affairs to a buffoon like Donald Trump. It was embarrassing.
Well, I'm about to send you my PayPal information because I'm going to collect on that 100. And I don't even like Trump. And I'll tell you why.
Yeah, what would you give me?
Okay, are you ready? Do you remember that Chris Wallace interview where he showed like the results of his IQ test or his like aptitude test? No. Hey, wait. He correctly identified chair and TV, and I think there was like a third.
You mean the neurological?
Yes, thank you. That
aptitude one.
Yeah. He like phone.
To show that he wasn't fucking like psychotic or whatever. Oh my god.
I will always tell people that I thought Trump's pretty funny and he can crack a joke and he's pretty charismatic. You know, I'll cede that ground for sure. You know,
Yeah.
and listen, I wish if Biden was 10 years younger, he'd be killing it. But he is
For
what
sure.
it is. But I think people just see clips, they see the worst of the worst. But Biden's fine, man. He stumbles on a word here or there, but everybody does. He's just an old dude, but I think he's doing just fine, man. It's overblown for sure.
See, the charisma thing, I mean, I know, okay, obviously, by definition, right, in terms of the support that Trump enjoys from his cult, he's clearly charismatic, right? But, you know, obviously, you think about it, and if you're like a history or pop culture buff, you know, you're thinking like the great speeches in recorded history. So, like, you know, the I Have a Dream speech, even Bill Clinton.
Martin Luther King.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So it's interesting, though, because I'll be honest with you, I struggled with that one for the longest time. I'm like, Trump is charismatic, really? Because his delivery is not, even as far as Republicans are concerned, like not particularly polished or, you know, whatever.
The election is running and compare him to like an orator like Cruz or even fucking Rubio. Yeah, like Trump. Next to Cruz, Trump sounded like a high school dropout.
Right.
Whether you like or dislike Ted Cruz, he's a smart guy, and he sounds like a smart guy when he speaks. And yeah, Trump sounds like a literal high school dropout. But again, they don't want to hear, like, for Republicans, like, being smart is like, it makes you a fucking loser. Like, unironically, like, these guys value the fact that Trump sounds like a fucking kindergartner because he speaks to them on their level, right? They hear it and they're like, oh, that's one of us, even though this guy's a fucking billionaire real estate developer that was born into money from New York fucking City.
That was Democrat, then Republican,
Yeah,
then
his whole
Democrat,
life, yeah.
then Republican, buddies with the Clintons, you know.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, somebody threw a White Claw at Ted Cruz yesterday. He
That's
was
a
at
waste of a
Houston
White Claw.
Astros parade.
That is a waste of a White
I mean,
Claw.
Yeah, it's but it's the right, they think it's hilarious to laugh at Nancy Pelosi's husband getting hit in the head twice with a hammer, lying in a pool of blood for 3 minutes, and now look what happened. Now all of a sudden there's a little violence coming around on the other side. Not so much fun.
Okay, now that I got to know about too, again from you two with your conversations with conservatives, because I grew up, below the Mason-Dixon line, spent most of my life there, still live in a red state, so most of the conservatives with whom I'm familiar in my personal life, they're also very religious, right? And so, like, I don't know about Southern and Chin and actual Justice Warrior and people like that, but what about the standards of decency? Like, take family values and cheating on, like, all that shit.
None of that matters anymore. None of that matters to them anymore. None of it matters. I've told this story on my stream like 50 times. I'll tell it to you one time. I don't know if I've told you this one or not, but I remember growing up as a kid, my mom crying to me, talking about how horrible it was that Bill Clinton had an affair with Monica Lewinsky because she was in the Air Force, and she said that when the man at the top acts that way, it rolls down the military. That's the commander-in-chief. Everybody's going to treat women differently. Like, she cried when she told me how horrible that was. And with Trump, she said, well, Stevie, boys will be boys. They say things in locker rooms. What are you going to say? It was unbelievable to me. I couldn't believe the change in demeanor. Like, it's brain rot all the way down. There's nothing to be said about it.
Yeah, the Access Hollywood
family
tape killed
values,
that.
Christianity, like, none of it fucking matters to me. But I don't know if it ever did. That's another thing too. I don't know if they truly ever cared. You remember when Trump? You remember Trump held up the nerve of this fucking loser? He held up the two most important books to him on the campaign trail. It was the Bible was number one, and then a close second was like The Art of the Deal. And then when he went on TV and he was asked by those pastors, "What's your favorite verse?" and he's like, "Oh, all of them. I can't pick one."
Dude,
oh God,
yes,
dude.
that's so crazy. Like, and what was funny was, if it's the clip I'm thinking of, it was a televised, like, Christian convention somewhere in, like, Texas. Yep. And I think what was hilarious was, I think the person asking legitimately thought that Trump would be able to answer the question.
Yeah, of course. They're not there to make him look bad.
Right. It wasn't like a CNN gotcha, right? So they were like, oh, because I can't remember if it was during the campaign or it was after he was elected, but oh, Mr. Trump, I know you're such a enthusiast of the Lord. What is your favorite passage? And he's like, well, it's listen, the whole book is tremendous, guys. It's just, it's just fabulous. Nobody knows more of the Bible, believe me. And then he was also asked on television, what's a time that you've had to ask God for forgiveness? And he just, like, straight up, he's like, I've never had to do that. I've never had to ask for forgiveness. Can you imagine? Yeah.
If Obama or anybody, yeah.
Yeah. God.
There are so many things where it's like, I wish I could see Obama doing this. I wish I could see it. I just want to see the reaction. It would just be so great.
Obama's been on the campaign trail for these midterm candidates, just killing it. It's been awesome to see him come back. A lot of great clips out there of him. But yeah, I agree. If Obama did half this stuff, they would lose their minds for sure.
A single thing, yeah. Nobody talks about that. It's like, well, no, people did talk about that, but it's kind of like one of those more subtle aspects of racism in the U.S. Like, it was so important that Obama's family life was perfect. Everything about that man's life had to be perfect. And they still made fun of him for some things, for Michelle Obama looking like a man or whatever dumb shit Republicans said. But, like, dude, if any part of that guy's personal life would have been fucked up, we wouldn't have heard the fucking end of it. Holy shit.
I think it's because they knew that Michelle Obama would, like, be able to suplex most of the Republican Party, just, like, beat the brakes off them pretty effortlessly. If it came down to it. If she had to square up, she would do that.
I'm sorry. Destiny, so not liking all of the Bible is a bad answer? Come on, dude. Picking one passage is hard for most people of faith. Like, this is the level of, like, Trump supporters, okay? That's the level of Trump supporters in my chat, right? I don't know what I could say to a person like that. Like, I don't know what I could possibly say to turn that person's mind. Are you saying you don't love all of the Bible, Destiny? Like, Jesus Christ, give me a break, dude.
Nobody's asking for a book report on it. Like, even, like, if you just bullshit, like, like the first, let there be light or whatever, like, even something like that, like a sufficiently skilled improviser would be like, I'm just a big fan of like illuminating darkness into things. So like let there be light is just like so important to me. Like it's so profound when you think about it. Like something stupid like that. And instead he's like, oh well, I mean they're all just, how can you pick?
They're all so great.
Yeah.
Christ.
Destiny actually knows nothing about Christianity. LOL.
True. Not
Well,
like
but
Donald
Destiny's
Trump.
not.
Mr. Seventh Marriage, Mr. Worldwide, Mr. fucking porn stars and paying them to shut the fuck up about it. Mr. doesn't take responsibility or accountability for anything. Yeah.
Destiny's not running on like the conservative ticket for president either. I'm sure if he was, he would memorize one verse and be like, "That's my favorite."
Sure.
You know,
Yep.
it's not that hard. But
I'm just trying to like
I don't
imagine
know.
a reinterpretation of scripture, but like with Destiny lingo, so like throwing based in there and true instead of, you know, instead of like I am the way, the truth, and the life, Jesus shouts out true, and then that's the end of it. That'd be beautiful. I could see it.
I thought it was funny, like Trump never even pretended to go to church. He didn't even try to appear like he gave a shit. He just said it once in a while, held up the Bible upside down or something, but nobody gave him grief at all. Like, does this guy ever go to church? And nobody ever asked, nobody ever cared.
I guess in some ways, I think that's probably going to be somewhat of a positive. That like Republicans are going to have to fight on other ground now because it can't be family values. It can't be. They can't possibly pretend to give a fuck about shit like that anymore, right?
Dude, no, they don't care at all. Like, look at Herschel Walker. He's like, I am so pro-life, and they're like, yeah, but you had abortions. He's like, that's not true. That never happened. They
Well,
don't
the
care.
abortion
They
thing,
still
that's
claim the man.
always been a Republican thing. The only moral abortion is my abortion. There's a name for that meme. But like with the Donald Trump shit, like it can't. I don't know. Maybe. Yeah, you're right. No, they have no shame. Maybe they.
Yeah,
will.
he doesn't care at all. He really doesn't care. Trust me. He's gonna start saying that God talks to him directly soon. Just watch.
Yeah, maybe, dude.
He's making a huge announcement on next Tuesday. People are saying he's gonna announce running for president, but we'll see. I don't know.
What the hell happened? Because I didn't get to see that. So he scheduled an announcement to announce a subsequent, like what was it? Was it a rally or was it specifically to make something?
No, in true Trump fashion, 24 hours before the midterms, he took attention away from the candidates that desperately needed it by leaking that he might announce a run for president at last night's rally in Ohio. I heard Lycan talking about J.D. Vance, the Republican candidate, versus Tim Ryan. It was at a rally for J.D. Vance, the Republican candidate in Ohio. It was a tease that he was going to announce, so everybody was tuned in. But then he just said, "Well, I'm going to make a big announcement next Tuesday at Mar-a-Lago." So that's what happened.
Trump.
Yep. Good job, Trump. Idiot.
Wait, I'm sorry, because I was reading chat too. Did he said where he was going to make the announcement or just when?
Yes. He said where? He said Mar-a-Lago next Tuesday.
I see. I guess I was hoping for like a reprise of Rudy Giuliani as the chief scheduler, you know, location picker, the scout, another like Four Seasons gas station and landscaping.
I can't believe that actually happened. I still can't believe that. How many people okay that? It must be just one or two. That's unbelievable. It's unbelievable to me that happened. There are so many unbelievable things.
Dude, people are going to read about this time in history 50 years from now and just be like, wow, that was wild. Those guys lived through that. I really do think this is one of those moments in our nation's history that will be reflected upon for years. And we don't even know the half of it yet.
We don't know what history's going to be yet, yeah. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah. They're going to charge him. I really do think they're getting close. They gave one of his close advisors partial immunity about the documents and him declassifying them and such. So
Was that Meadows?
it's starting to heat up.
Was that Mark Meadows?
No, it was Cash Patel.
Oh shit, Patel might be flipping on him. That guy was like
He already spoke to the grand jury.
No. Oh wow. He was like the slimiest one out of all of them, in my opinion. Like just like this up-jumped, ruthlessly opportunistic guy. Like he was like some like senator's aide or something like that, congressional aide, and then he like somehow got involved with national security and then became a special
Devin
advisor.
Nunes.
Wow.
He was an aide to Devin Nunes, who was a real creep back in the first part of Trump's presidency. But yeah, he was going to be possibly CIA director. Trump was talking about kicking out Gina Haspel after he lost the election and really coming up with some crazy scheme and putting that Cash guy in. He chose not to do that eventually. But this guy said that Trump declassified everything. And so the FBI was like, okay, we'll give you partial immunity. You want to come testify about that?
So
the weird thing too is that if Trump could theoretically declassify everything, if we're going to say that that's the case without speaking, Biden could theoretically just reclassify everything, right? What, the utterance of a word, like.
and retroactively do it. That would be even.
It's like so stupid. Like that argument was so. Again, could you imagine fucking Hillary Clinton or Barack Obama saying something like that? Oh, like, oh yeah, we just declassified everything before we took it onto Hillary Clinton's email server. Like, couldn't she make the same argument?
No,
like,
I don't think she
Obama
has.
just declassified everything. So like, it's so stupid.
Yeah, Obama
She can't
could have.
declassify.
But yeah,
No, but she can say
only the
Obama did
president
it for her,
can.
right? Because they're in bed together, of course. They all work the same.
Oh,
but like
sure.
theoretically, if the Republicans want to go that route, that like, oh well, Trump declassified everything. Okay, well fine, then Obama declassified everything. Hillary did nothing wrong. Like boom, like there you go.
I think not only should he reclassify things, but I think it's really important to say it's retroactive. Because it's like, listen, not only can I classify and declassify things with my brain, but I, as president, control time. So not only have I reclassified it, I went back in time, Doctor Strange style, and it was classified when Trump took it home with him, and then just see what happens. Sometimes I wonder if eventually Democrats should get on a bit of the trolling train, like. Pod Save America did this thing the other day, and I do like the guys at Pod Save America, but they have a bit of the Michelle Obama when they go low, we go high thing, and that really pisses me.
That's where I'm at right now.
No, it's not.
I was listening to IRI stream, and I think you both disagree with that.
Yeah. Please, okay,
I think
IRI,
are
we
when you were listening to some of
spirits?
the people were listening to the call-ins or whatever for the was it C-SPAN, and you were saying some shit like we should just fucking make up some fake shit. Fuck them if they're gonna do misinformation. Yeah, I understand the
Well,
frustration.
I think
but
look,
yeah.
misinformation is influencing a lot of people right now. I think we should get in the game until we figure out a way to stop it. I mean, otherwise, what are we doing? You know, it's causing a lot of problems. We might as well put out our misinformation and win, and then do good policy.
I think we should only do the misinformation that they do. So, for instance, and I encourage all Republicans to believe this: mail-in ballots are indeed rigged. Don't waste your time voting on them. Okay, that's the one piece because Republicans accept it, so that's okay if that's true. Don't waste your vote on mail-in ballots because it's probably rigged. Okay?
Real talk, I'm sorry, and maybe one or both of you disagree and can persuade me otherwise, but if Democrats or Democratic governors or even President Biden made the decision, let's say this election goes worst case scenario, right, and there really is a red wave. If Biden were to like call on like one series, one audit and forensic audit and recount after another just to drive the point home, like, hey, look, if we're going to erode norms, the only way norms work is if it's reciprocal, and we can't have a thing where you do whatever the hell you want and then I'm left, holding the bag here and just like constantly drawing it out. I wonder, I mean, it probably wouldn't be good for the country, but
I
it would
understand
feel
what
good.
your feeling is, and I feel it too. I have the feeling, but I think what we have to keep in mind is that there are people that are noticing in the middle that don't speak as loudly. Like, there are people that got turned off by that January 6th shit. There are people that get turned off by Trump's perpetual fucking whining. There are people that are noticing these things and are turning their back on their phone. And we have to be aware of that. Those people are out there. And so we have to be careful when we speak that we're keeping them in mind. Yeah. Even though it's hard to see because the delusional magatards are the ones that are the loudest, that are screeching constantly about things. Like they are out there, and we have to be mindful of that. Yeah.
Real quick, somebody in your chat, Bree, aka Sanithi, says, I am the way, the truth, and the light, based thou sayeth Moses. That's awesome. That's great. that would be the
Gamer Bible.
Yeah. I mean, no, no, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
I kid about doing the misinformation stuff, but I think we just have to listen to their grievances and kind of make them feel better. Like, we're getting ahead of some of the election fraud complaints that are already happening today before the polls are even closed. And so, there's ways we can get ahead of this stuff.
Yeah, Trump is already on that Truth Social shit talking about how the election is already rigged. Same thing is happening with voter fraud. It's happened in 2020. The absentee ballot situation in Detroit is really bad. People are showing up to vote only to be told, sorry, you've already voted. Another big voter tabulation problem. Like, he's already like on the fake election shit. Like, is this the norm now? Every single time? Like, I'm trying to remember. Was it ever? Could you imagine? Hold on. Could you imagine if we could swap fucking Bush and Gore and put the same Republicans there now where a Supreme Court is deciding the outcome of the election? How crazy Republicans, the MAGA Republicans today, would lose their fucking minds.
They'd want a court pack. Then they'd be really big on court packing. Then
it would be unironically, I think it would be a civil war if that same thing happened. I think it would be a civil war. It's just like unreal. Fuck, I hate them. I actually hate them so much.
Well,
I really do.
the
More than the trans people on Twitter, more than the fucking black women that are crazy on my stream, more than any of these other motherfuckers. It's like these actual Republican voters that are voting for the dissolution of our country. Like, actually send me for a fucking loop. Holy shit. It's unbelievable,
wait.
dude.
Why do you hate them? I look at them as victims. I know it's not popular to say, but I feel like they're brain wormed out. It's like if I watch Fox News and Newsmax all day, I'd be thinking those same things too, no?
No, they are victims, but like, I mean, they're victims that are like perpetuating the active fucking destruction of the country. Like, it's just.
I think it's
True.
perfectly legitimate to hate Republican leaders, people who should know
The
better.
leaders,
Yeah.
The leaders, yeah.
I so
We're
much
gonna hate the voters, yeah. But.
so many of my family members and friends are Republicans, and I agree. Like they're victims of the cult, and even in terms of policy. So this is, it falls on deaf ears. But what I try to make the case to my conservative friends and family, it's like real talk. What are the benefits you've ever experienced from a Republican presidency? Because of course, the irony, like you take, Trump's greatest legislative accomplishments was the 2017 tax cuts, right? Mm-hmm. Most of the people that I know personally who love Trump and love the GOP didn't feel the benefits of that, right? Like,
yeah, these motherfuckers don't even, a lot of these guys don't even fucking pay federal taxes. Like, you're helping me. Like, I'm saving more money than like 100 average Republican taxpayers are actually like paying into the fucking system. Which, I mean, like, that's who you're helping. It's the billionaires and the mooners. Like,
that's how you know it's propaganda, because like I already said, I mean, they're victims. They have been programmed into being like eager cannon fodder for people who don't give a shit about them, will never pass legislation that benefits. I mean, my God, look at the PACT Act, right? So like, I know we're all over the place, but that's a demographic or a constituency that Republicans constantly, harp on, and that they say, we're the party, we're the pro-military party, we're the party of veterans. And they held up a previously many times over bipartisan piece of legislation that would increase health care for Republicans. As a matter of fact, I don't think it'd be an exaggeration to say that the delays that they caused have probably or will probably contribute to the deaths of veterans because of the additional time it took to implement the process. Same thing about the 9/11 first responders bill. You remember that IRA from like 4 years ago?
Yes.
Where
Jon Stewart was involved in both of them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Half of them didn't show up, and that was the first, mega viral Jon Stewart speech in front of Congress, and so this is not a both sides issue, and this is where I get mad at Democrats, because I feel like we just cough up the ball in terms of the narrative. Democrats are the party of economic prosperity and fiscal responsibility relative to Republicans, but we just cede the ground that they're the party of fiscal responsibility. Democrats are the party of veteran health care and taking care of veterans and soldiers, certainly more than Republicans, but we don't do a good job of like even attempting to take back that narrative until the 11th hour, in my opinion.
Yeah, every single fucking time we get into fucking office, it's like on the fucking coattails of another worldwide destructive epidemic of financial like ruin. Like, holy shit, Obama coming in after the 2007 housing crisis, fucking Biden coming in after the horrible fucking botched COVID shit. Like, Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah, this reminded me, I actually want to bring something up to you real quickly about that libertarian tard that you debated at the Change My Mind thing.
The guy that said the world
would be
Oh, the kid, sorry. I thought you were talking about the vice presidential candidate that said the whole world should have nuclear arms and that would make us a better place. My bad, go ahead.
No, the college kid who debated you, and he tried to get you with why did the Democrats not vote on this amendment for the IRS agents? Do you remember that talking point?
Yeah.
He was like, what? He
to
said,
keep
Mike
them from like auditing
Crapo.
people less than $40,000 or
Yes.
something, whatever. Yeah.
He called him Senator Mike. He said Mike Crapo. It's actually Crapo, senator from Idaho. But the amendment text said that the IRS agents wouldn't be able to go after people that have taxable income less than $400,000. That's the loophole. Billionaires don't have taxable income. They borrow money and they don't pay any taxes on that. So that's why the Democrats
can you
vote on
actually
it.
link me and prove that?
I will.
If
yeah,
that's
I'll send you
actually the case, that's
info.
a big thing. No, by the way, nobody knows how taxes work when they debate this shit too, and I do. So that's a huge talking point if that's actually true. Yeah, because like I don't know if Elon Musk makes $400,000 a year in like W-2 income. Like, does he?
I don't think so. None of
Like,
these big guys do.
where
They
is
have
this
no
guy's
income.
Yeah, where is this guy's income? Except for if he's invested in certain stocks, maybe dividends, but that's not going to be yeah, it's going to depend on like what his investments look like there. But like, yeah, in terms of like actual like taxable income, it's going to depend on the person for sure.
Right. It's super simple. I'll send you the information on it. But I wanted to bring that up. I had to tell you that because that kid was so confident that he got you. But I thought you handled that really well. You're like, look, I'd have to see the text, but it is what it is.
Sidebar, I know that advertisers are threatening to withdraw from Twitter, and it costs however much money. Apparently, and correct me if I'm wrong, wasn't it it was like a really bad investment or whatnot? Like it's not worth the amount of money he spent on it, right? There's a reason I'm bringing this up. Musk.
I mean, probably, but
I wonder, like, it was funny. I got thinking about this today, and it amused me. That $2 billion Powerball. I wonder if Musk was buying scratch offs, trying to recoup some of the loss that he.
I don't
Dude,
know.
I think he might have done us a favor with taking down Twitter. That is just a hellhole.
That is true, and I am enjoying
misinformation.
seeing all of the
Fuck
fucking progressives mauled like motherfuckers on it too. Is actually really funny to me. I like watching it so because there are a lot of mad fucking progressives over that shit.
I thought I saw Tim Pool got pissed off at something Musk did. I think it was like where he said he was going to hesitate before bringing back banned accounts until there was some sort of process or council set up. And
oh yeah, he's waiting on it.
Yeah. But I don't know, like a lot of people in your chat were talking about like how we're bitching about Trump's like personality defects or whatnot, or the double standards, optics, things like that. And it's, we have no complaints about policy. And
well, there.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No. I was just going to say I found that ironic because I bet the three of us know infinitely more about Trump's policy than most Trump supporters, including the people you're going to talk to. Yeah,
that's not even a brag, though, because Trump didn't have very many policies. True. He was horrible when it came to passing legislation. Most of the shit he did was via executive order. Like it's not like there's a lot of Trump policy to speak highly of. And the decorum of the president is fairly important. Like
supremely.
Yeah, like this is like literally our lead cheerleader, like our head of state. Like, of course, how they act
leader of the world
themselves is going to be fucking important. Yeah.
What about again, something else to bring up? You know how for the longest time Trump swore, in addition to the wall, one of the big selling points was that he was going to force Mexico to pay for it. And Biden, it wasn't a wall, but Biden was able to get a $1 to $4 billion commitment from the Mexican government for border security. That's another thing Biden got done in fewer than 2 years than Trump did.
No.
Oh, this is another thing they'll bring up is the southern border is wide open right now. Just the gates left open, nobody there, anybody can come in. That is a nice talking point they got too. What do you usually say in regards to that, Destiny?
I don't know the status of the border right now. I do know that one number that I was told was a lie that I got. I thought I had an inkling it was, and then I later found out it was that there are like 2.3 million illegal immigrants coming into the country every month. That it was actually like 2.3 million encounters at the border every month. There's not people getting into the country, but I didn't find out until I got home. So,
do you think they're gonna throw like an even ridiculous? It's actually 40 trillion contacts every 3 weeks.
It's terrorists carrying bags of fentanyl. I mean, it's just everything you can think of for sure. Yeah. But the truth of the matter is Biden has continued a lot of Trump policies like Title 42, which the CDC came up with to turn everybody away to a public health emergency. And he's actually increased it to include Venezuelans now, which were the number 2 group of people that were coming over the border. So it's not exactly wide open. And we have 10 million job openings in this country. If Republicans were serious about the southern border, they would help us reconfigure immigration to make it a little easier to get in here so we can put some of these people to work. And that would help bring down inflation, too, because wages go up when you have a lot of job openings. And we only have 3.7% unemployment right now. So it's like there's not a lot of people to employ.
Hey, I asked Econoboy about this, and maybe you both know better than I do, but one of the things that I'm getting a lot from conservatives on TikTok, when I do TikTok lives and they fire back, they're like, okay, stop adhering to the unemployment rate. You need to look at labor participation rate, which is down.
Boring.
Yeah, well, I know relatively little about that, so what the hell is that? Like, what are they talking about?
Okay, there are different unemployment numbers that economists use to try to track unemployment in different economies, oftentimes what we use is called the U3 unemployment rate. The U3 unemployment rate is going to include certain sectors of society. It's going to disinclude or not include people like discouraged workers that aren't looking for work anymore. There are different economic values, or there are different economic reasons why we use different types of unemployment. I believe labor force participation rate lines up with the U6, but the problem with using like labor force participation rate is that's going to vary widely based on the age of your society. So for instance, labor force participation rate includes people all up until the age of death. So as boomers retire out, that labor force participation rate is of course going to go down because you've got like retired people that aren't going to work anymore, right? The only way to bring up that labor force participation rate is going to get people that are 70, 80, 90 years old to keep working, and that's just not going to be the case.
Wasn't there also a case of like during COVID, I thought I heard this about like a lot of people opting into early retirement? Like, would that affect the labor participation
rate? It might have
rate?
been the case because we've been waiting for boomers to fucking retire forever, and they never seem to want to. But it might be the case now that that has actually encouraged some of them to completely move out of the job market. Yeah,
Gotcha.
So that was like the bump they needed. But
Well, Republicans are talking about raising the age of Social Security to 70, so maybe that's part of the plan there.
What about the sunset
the market.
like involved with that IRI? Didn't they? I there again, I'm kind of losing track of the information because I thought initially it was like every 4 or 10 years they wanted these entitlement programs to sunset, and then I thought I also heard it was actually supposed to be every year that some Republicans are proposing that it basically has to be re-upped every year. Am I making that part up?
Yeah.
Or
No. The Republicans released like a plan for America through through the Senate. Rick Scott, Destiny's senator down there in Florida, and it was that they're going to revisit all programs every 5 years. And they claim, well, we don't want to get rid of them. We just want to make sure that the people want them. But that's a way for them to reduce them. Imagine if they put out the narrative that these programs suck, and they'll get a way to convince their voters to vote against their own interests and get rid of Social Security.
actually,
Don't think so?
I disagree. I think it's actually a little bit more insidious than that. The reason why they don't want to do it is because they want to have another political chip to fight over every time it comes up for renewal. So
football.
now they can. Yeah, so basically what happens is in 4 years, if these programs are up for renewal, oh, you want to bring that back? Well, what are you going to give us for it? Right?
Sure.
And now it's like, well,
Sure.
fuck, Jesus, like, yeah, and that's how it's always framed. Are those things with sunsets I think they're made because they give you more political wiggle room in the future, so that if people want to maintain them, you're gonna have to get concessions out of people for them. I think, which is fucking lame as fuck.
Yeah, I think it would be political suicide to get rid of Social Security or try to go after Medicare. But yeah, you're right. They're used as a negotiating chip. They're going to do that with raising the debt ceiling if we don't do something here for the end of the year. And that may include rolling back some of the stuff from the Inflation Reduction Act, like the IRS agents. So there's a couple of battles that are going to come up here if the Republicans do take the House or the Senate.
see, even that right there. So again, I'm just having flashbacks to this time last year, and the reluctance to raise the debt ceiling. Even McConnell, who I'll give him a bit of credit, that Grim Reaper, and he has complied or cooperated with Biden a bit more, certainly more than he did President Obama. But the fact that he was going to try to make Democrats try to single-handedly raise the debt ceiling instead of providing the votes, that is huge, right? Because we could have defaulted like that. It's never happened before in the history of the United States. Where
we can't default on our debt.
Yeah.
It's unfathomable that would ever happen.
And the fact that they even threaten that is, to me, that's the thing about this new version of the GOP. Like, there's shit that we've honestly, all three of us, have forgotten about, and then the more like one of us says something, it triggers us this one memory, which would sink the Democrats. Any one of these issues would have sank the Democrats. Like, can you imagine if Harry Reid threatened to let the U.S. default on its loans or whatnot, what that shit show would look like and how he would be punished at the ballot box? But we hold Republicans to different standards. That was insane. And by the way, there again, in case it comes up, talk about fiscal responsibility. Republican administrations have raised the debt ceiling, I think almost twice as much in the past 50 years compared to Democratic administrations, which is yet another reason that we know Democrats are more fiscally responsible than Republicans.
That's just another thing that, like, I don't think either side wants to get rid of the debt ceiling shenaniganery because it gives them like wiggle room politically in the future over things. But like, we probably should just not have a debt ceiling. Like, it's just stupid that we play like nuclear football. Like, like the United States defaulting on its debt might actually be worse for the world order than like a limited nuclear strike by Russia. Like that's how unfathomably catastrophic it would be if the United States defaulted, because USD is supposed to be like the single safest investment worldwide.
Right.
And the idea that the United States might start to fail to pay back those bonds, it's unfathomable. It just can't happen. It's just unbelievable that people would fuck around with stuff like that. But
yeah. Republicans are pushing us to that, to the point where Democrats may have to use budget reconciliation with the lame duck Congress to raise the debt ceiling to like 40 trillion or something, just to get rid of it basically and not have to deal with it, because Republicans are going to use that to try to get some concessions from the Biden administration. It's one of the only tools they have over the next 2 years if they do win even the House. Kind of scary.
yeah, fuck them, God.
Trying to make notes for you to dump in the chat there. I'm looking back from stuff here. So according to my notes, since 1960, the debt ceiling has been raised 49 times by Republican presidents and 29 times by Democratic presidents. Okay, so that, like, again, you talk about fiscal responsibility. Oh, you don't want to increase debt. You don't want to make it, you want to try to reduce debt. And we've had to raise the debt ceilings, nearly twice the number of times because of Republicans. And the other thing, I want to say didn't Trump swear that he was going to get rid of the debt before he left office? Like he was going to take it from whatever it was under Obama and down to zero. Like he made that lofty promise.
I don't know.
I think so.
Never heard that one.
Did he actually say that he was going to get rid of the debt? Or did
I think he was going to
the deficit.
He was, let's see, Trump wipe out.
Trump added $7 trillion to the debt over the course of his administration.
So much deficit spending, dude. Unbelievable.
And now it's the Democrats' problem. We gotta trim the fat now after
So
spending $7 trillion.
Let's see. We can't send another politician to the White House. Trump tweeted, that takes me back, in July 24, 2015. A few weeks after he announced his candidacy for the presidency, several months before the 2016 election, Trump pledged he would be able to eliminate the national debt, then around $19 trillion, over a period of 8 years. He didn't get his 8 years, so I guess I can't say.
Maybe he was on the path. I'm sure he was on the way to doing it. Okay.
Yeah, well, no, like IRI said, I think it was like the single biggest contribution in terms of raw dollars to added to the debt under Trump's 4 years than any other president in a comparable time frame. Like it's insane. He didn't just add a wee little bit. He added like a historic amount.
Is this working right, guys?
What?
Nothing. Sorry, that's stupid shit.
Well, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know you got a bunch of stuff to do, but
Well, I don't have to go until I hop on in, I think, an hour and a half. But if there's anything else you want to say, or if you're done, then you're good, yeah.
No, I just think it's fun to hear like your thoughts on what's to come in the future. Like, what do you think it's going to be like under these Republicans? I'm assuming you're on the boat that they're going to win tonight, and
all the predictions.
Do you think all hell breaks loose or what?
Yeah, it seems like they're probably going to win, and then it's just going to be like lame duck, basically. Like, probably not going to be able to do much for the next 2 years. Would be my imagination. Right?
Do you think Biden's going to run again? He said he'll make an announcement after the midterms.
It's such a throwing away that incumbent advantage seems so not good.
Yeah. I agree.
I feel like he has to, unless what is his popularity at right now? His approval?
I think it's like 42. I thought
it's like 44, 42. Yeah.
Let's see.
I don't know, but we have an interesting bench. We have like Gavin Newsom. I think he's kind of a rising star. Some people are talking about this Josh Shapiro guy who's running as Democratic candidate for governor, probably going to win tonight, Pennsylvania. I don't know. There's some interesting people out there. Gretchen Whitmer in Michigan. Any of these people get you fired up or?
I just haven't looked enough into their platforms to know or whatever. I've only heard really, really bad things about Newsom, but I lived in Huntington Beach, which is a conservative area of Southern California. So everything on everybody on the radio shit talking. Oh, fuck. Yeah. Wait, never mind. Yeah. We live in similar areas, right? Dude, the radio down there is so conservative. There's a lot of Blue Lives Matter flags flying around in those Huntington Beach neighborhoods.
Oh, yeah.
And blue line shit. Yeah. Holy fuck. Yeah.
Supreme and I went and knocked on doors in Katie Porter's district last weekend.
Dude, let's talk about that. I'm sorry. Let's talk about that for a second. Where is she in that race? Because the last I heard, it was a dead heat. That would suck.
Yeah, it's a toss-up, but like Destiny mentioned, it's a pretty conservative area, and it was just flipped in 2018, so there's a lot of angry middle-aged conservatives out there that want their country back, you know what I mean? But Katie Porter is the third most prolific fundraiser in the House. It's behind Nancy Pelosi and AOC. So I think she'll be okay. But it was interesting going out there knocking on doors. And, the funny thing was, like, we were only knocking on doors of Democrats. But it would be like 19-year-old female in this nice apartment, and there's no way, unless she's a crypto entrepreneur, that she can afford this. So, like, the parents are going to answer, and they are not Democrats. So it was really awkward a couple of times. They're like, we're not interested at all.
Yeah.
So, okay. There also were some people protesting outside of Katie Porter's office, and I went right up to them. I was like, I love Joe Biden. They were like, you're a fucking communist. Blah! They got all riled up. It was like when we went to the Trump rally in Beverly Hills. It was fun.
You two went to a Trump rally in Beverly Hills?
We almost got killed.
Yeah, I can't believe you're still here right now. That must have been like when was this, in 2020 or 2016?
Oh, it was the weekend before the election in 2020, and we went to the Lions Den. It was awesome. We pissed off the whole rally. Well, it wasn't a Trump rally. It was like a pro-Trump event, and it was just
that sounds like a cult.
Wild.
I don't think there are any like moderate like Trump events from what I can tell. It's like it's all hardcore, right? Like they drank the tea, the Kool-Aid, excuse me, pretty bad.
They do.
Well,
the one thing that we should talk about too is the fact that you talk about institutions. So Trump, there again, you guys might have to correct me on this, but I thought Trump drafted an executive order where it was before he left office, and he just never implemented it for whatever reason. Either he was discouraged from doing it, but where it was going to recategorize most federal employees as like Category F or Schedule F employees, which would basically make them at-will employees of the president. So he'd be able to fire people like Fauci. And apparently it's difficult for the president. Like, he has to have cause to fire quite a few of these career bureaucrats. He doesn't have... he can't just demand everybody's resignation. But after COVID and some of the pushback that he got from within his administration, and obviously from, election officials and whatnot, that he was attempting to make the executive branch at-will employment so he could fire anybody who disagreed with him. That's scary shit. Like...
yeah, that seems pretty weird, yeah. I don't know if that's how he'd actually end up doing it, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it was Category F or Schedule F employees.
Listen, Trump had a lot of plans for that second term. He was pretty upset. He was trying to break up NATO. He had a lot of things on his list.
How do you respond to people that say, like, Trump would be doing better on fucking Ukraine despite being, like, a fucking NATO skeptic?
Well, I think he was actively trying to break it up. I mean, he was saying we're going to withdraw money from it, and he was, and now Biden has become the leader of an empire, as Nick Fuentes said. I thought that was kind of base. Yeah, he is the leader of an empire with NATO, and he got Sweden and Finland to join. I mean, it's incredible what he's done. And also, we've hobbled one of our biggest adversaries, one of the biggest irritants in the world, Russia, by funneling money and weapons to the Ukrainians, and bless their hearts, they're willing to fight. And Russia's been shown to be a paper tiger now on the world stage. So, and that's all with Biden's leadership. I think he's done a fantastic job.
True.
I wonder what, I don't know, what deterrence or like impact like this is having on like Xi Jinping in China. Like, obviously China in a lot of ways is in better shape than Russia, but if I'm not mistaken, Russia, at least on paper, we talk about a paper tiger, still had like the second biggest and, according to experts, the second most powerful conventional military in the world. I wonder if the fact that Russia is doing so poorly on the world stage, and like you said, IRI, in large part because of what the U.S. has been able to mobilize in the West, do you think that is, factoring into China's calculus? Like, they don't seem to be as conventionally imperialist, right? So like it's less about territory.
China is just a way better country than Russia in almost every way, right? They're more economically stable. They've got a better future ahead of them. I don't know if China wants to be as involved in this kind of like shenaniganery like Russia does. They're not like trying to, like, they already have like a massive kind of empire. It's a huge country. They've got like economic prosperity. They're manufacturing powers of the world. They've got projects working all across the world, across Europe and Africa. Like, I don't know if China wants to.
Yeah, they're doing that new Silk Road initiative, right? Where they're basically, funneling a ton of money into to Africa and other parts of Asia, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and they also have like their own internal conflict and everything too. So like, I don't know I think Russia's kind of on their own with this like wild shit.
Well, it wasn't the conventional wisdom that they were going to be, there's some foreign policy experts which say that, yeah, okay, the U.S. is still the world's remaining superpower, but, the line from some foreign policy experts a couple of years ago, at least before what's going on in Ukraine, was that in many ways China and Russia are still competitors, that they're near peers of the U.S. between great power and superpower status, and that alliance the two of them have, would be like a really big counterweight to the U.S. And I haven't been following the Ukraine thing like, obviously like Dylan Burns and others have, but I thought I was reading that China has been kind of distancing themselves from Russia since this happened. Am I wrong there, or are they still maintaining like a close relationship? I thought that they were, they really...
I mean, my guess is going to be that China probably doesn't want to like deal with or sign off on like this kind of wacky shit. Like that's probably not what they're all about. They're probably more interested in like people just kind of like working together diplomatically and not like the weird fucking Russian war shit. I don't think it benefits them very much.
Yeah, I think China signed off on Russia destroying Ukraine in a week, like they thought they would. And then when that didn't happen, China's like, "Oh, okay, that's not good." But China and India are the ones that are buying the oil from Russia, so they're keeping them afloat. And that's why
economically to do so too. So of course they will, right?
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean that's why people think Russia will not use a nuke, because that will really isolate them from China, and even testing a nuke in Siberia or something like that as a threat to the world, that would really isolate them from China and India. But the thing with China is that would be a water invasion, not even over land, so it's even more difficult. And it just seems like China has a different way to bring Taiwan into their fold. And everybody's building these chip factories now, so I don't know if it's going to be that pressing of an issue moving forward in the next 3-5 years.
Well, and that brings us full circle back to Biden's accomplishments. But right there, Destiny, one of the things that you can say is that, the CHIPS Act, in addition to be, the current forecast is it will be quite economically prosperous because you have Micron and was it Intel? There were some other like major tech giants like investing like billions of dollars into like new factories to develop these semiconductor chips domestically, which is also a national security issue, right? Because, again, I don't want to misspeak, but is it China and Taiwan are actually both like the leading semiconductor manufacturers, and obviously there's a tension between them. Am I wrong there? I thought at least Taiwan is. Taiwan's a big source of our semiconductors. And given that they are perpetually in China's crosshairs, the fact that we're able to boost the chip manufacturing at home, which we need in pretty much every industry from automotive to healthcare, that's huge, and that takes a tremendous national security burden off us because we're doing it here.
Yeah, hopefully, yeah.
Trump didn't do that. Trump didn't get that done.
Trump didn't get shit.
Yeah, that's bringing the manufacturing back here, which has been huge. And that's just the government's investment. Private industry is going to invest a lot too. And also like the Inflation Reduction Act, the government is investing in solar panels and credits for cars and all that, but private industry is going to invest too. So yeah, I mean, the CHIPS Act was huge. A lot of the legislative victories that Biden had at the end there were huge. The gun reform legislation, that's a big deal. The CHIPS Act, the burn pits legislation, all that stuff. Trump wishes he could get done, but he couldn't get anything done.
The
Embarrassing.
Bipartisan Safers Community Act, that the gun control bill. Now that one I'm less familiar with because I mean, quite frankly, the media like glossed over it. But that's just not my area of expertise anyway. But I remember, I'm trying to think of her name. I think it's BX Bullet was saying that there was like,
oh boy,
I probably shouldn't say that name 3 times. But that was like nonsense legislation. It's not going to have any effect. And again, gun policies and really not my forte. But the fucking thing just
nothing
passed.
Nothing is her forte, so you're good.
Yeah. Well, it just passed, right? So like, whatever implications it's going to have, it would take, if it will be effective, it's going to take a long time for a while for those policies to manifest. But are either of you fairly familiar with that bipartisan gun bill?
I don't.
I mean, I know the key elements of it is $750 billion to help states enforce red flag laws. It expanded red flag laws so that it closes the boyfriend loophole to some degree, because if you don't live with someone but you're in a long-term relationship, you can't use red flag laws, and they close that. It also has people under the age of 21 have more scrutiny now when buying guns, that you can look into their juvenile mental health records and things like that. And it had a big investment in mental health care in general, which I thought was pretty cool. Like billions of dollars for mental health care, which I think is a big part of gun control, right? We definitely have a mental health crisis in this country.
Yeah.
Destiny, why have you not bought an AR-15 yet, by the way? The hell, bro?
I got a really, really, really nice shotgun that I haven't even shot yet. I just need more time to go out. I don't know. I spent too much time streaming. I'm working I'm working a lot, and I'm on a big upswing, so it feels weird to like step away from work, I guess.
Well, and you say that so ominously
awesome.
with your orange and red background. It's like giving me Biden or Dark Brandon vibes. You talking about guns with that threatening background. I love that speech. I'm sure you guys did.
Live from the gates of hell. Yeah, that was a great speech.
That and the screenshots or the JPEGs that they would always have of Biden like that. I was like that. You actually made Biden so much cooler than what he was prior to that. Like I don't know. It was pretty cool. They said that, according to news reports, said that White House staffers in particular were really leaning into the Dark Brandon imagery and the iconography. Biden probably had no idea what the hell it meant, right? But
probably,
yeah. You know, I think it's good that they did that. I like that. I mean, the new White House, the person running the White House account now.
Twitter account.
Yeah, man, she's sharp, dude. Like she's like dunking on Republican.
You had to delete a tweet.
Oh, yeah, because of the context check or whatever.
Oh, wait, which one was that?
It was about jobs, wasn't it? Unemployment?
No. It was about the largest increase in Social Security benefits is thanks to this administration.
Which wasn't
it's actually tied to what's that?
That wasn't technically true, right?
No, it's tied to CPI, which is the inflation index, consumer price index. But Biden took credit. That's because of me. But it's true. It happened under his administration, technically, right? But they deleted it because it got fact checked over on Twitter. But that's badass. I want to push that envelope. That's what I'm talking about. That's that misinformation angle that I'm talking about, Destiny, right there. You're thinking we're putting out conspiracy theories. I'm just talking about pushing the envelope a little bit.
Well, in a way that Republicans do all the time. So, like, again, one of the big ones is, like, when I tout Biden's jobs record, I get a lot of people saying, well, that's just people going back to work after COVID. And it's like, okay, the metric by which Biden evaluates jobs is the same metric by which every president has, evaluated job growth, Republican or Democrat. Why would we make some sort of special caveat or asterisk for Biden and Trump that we would never do for any other president and that no president would ever do for a Democrat? Like, sorry. I don't know. I just, to me, that's where, I don't know about the misinformation thing, but it's like, I do believe that we have to reject certain double standards and try to reshape narratives because, like, even the myth of the liberal media, you look at any mainstream outlet, even MSNBC, from time to time, but Reuters, AP, CNN, they're as likely to trash Biden as praise him, right? Because they're motivated by sensationalism and clicks. They're nowhere near as ideologically driven as Fox News, OAN, Newsmax, and then, of course, the big conservative commentators online. They do not. The mainstream liberal media does not close ranks around Democrats to cover for them in the way that right-wing media does for conservatives. It's just never been the case. There's a double standard.
Yeah, I can believe that,
yeah. I mean, there's a whole group of people out there that don't want to accept reality, and right-wing media steps in and says, hey, listen, we were all cheated and we were all robbed. I think it's to their detriment because if you don't revisit why you failed, if you don't do a post-mortem and figure out, hey, what did we do wrong, then you're doomed for failure in the future. And that's why I think MAGA's going to fail over time because Trump's just sitting here harping on it. It was all stolen from me, meaning I did everything perfect, just the system failed me. And that's not a recipe for success in any environment, in anything you pursue in life.
Yeah, I always kind of had that feeling is that, like, I feel like eventually, if it hasn't started to already, there's going to be a lot of people that are just turned off by the crybabiness because he's such he whines so much.
It's pathetic. Well, that's why I think Ron DeSantis also feels. And the guy's 44 years old. He's talking about, trans kids and all the issues, the red meat they want, while Trump is sitting there harping about 2016 Hillary's emails crap. Nobody wants to hear that.
Yeah, it's kind of cringe. It's super cringe.
That stuff's boring.
Will they bring up cancel culture, do you think, in your conversation with them tonight? I don't know. Because I don't know what the topic is, if it's just like midterm discussion about...
I mean, if they are, like, I feel like, as much as I think actually Elon has valid points about, like, being able to ban people from impersonating, I'll just clown on them for the Elon shit.
Hell yeah.
To me, it's interesting, though, because I feel like it's just we're constantly told that cancel culture is this leftist construct, even though Republicans and conservatives have done it since time immemorial and would absolutely do it again if they were the quote-unquote dominant cultural power. And I don't think any of them own that. Like, I don't think any of the people that you're going to be sparring with have said, yeah, you know what, this is a genuinely both sides issue, and conservatives do not have the moral high ground here. They just kind of pretend that, they don't cancel people or try to fire them or, for their opinions, but it's not true.
Yeah, I love that you go in there and fight with these people, man. I look up to it, and I hope to be out there a couple years doing the same thing. I think we need some liberals pushing back, man. They just running over us with all this crap. But I'm gonna take off here in a minute. But are you? I want to ask you about Twitch. Like, if Twitch were to offer to unban you, would you duo stream over there? Dual stream, whatever?
Probably not. I think I would but I would stream with other people. It'd be nice to be able to do that again. But I don't think I would risk the duo stream. It's just not worth it. And I have like so much freedom. Like, we're pretty wild over here now on YouTube, and it feels good. That, like, especially like recently, there's been a few arcs now. Like this past, there've been like so many really interesting conversations relating to black issues and stuff that I had never even knew existed. And I don't know if I would have felt comfortable having these conversations on Twitch. I don't think that's the platform for it.
Damn. That's awesome, man. I feel like the sky's the limit for you. I really think I need to come over here full time on YouTube. Twitch is just...
I wouldn't go full time. Like, I would just duo stream. Just keep duo streaming, and then if you get banned, you get banned, and then switch over. But, well, getting banned sucks because then you lose the opportunity to do anything. But, yeah.
I've been pretty pleased that you've been putting out more content, IRI, by the way. That I see, like, your videos are like you're constantly posting more isolated videos, very topical. It's good stuff.
Yeah, I'm just chopping up my stream content, putting it as highlights on YouTube, and some of it is doing pretty well, but fucking Twitch, man, it sucks over there without you, Destiny. I tell you, man, unless you're orbiting Hassan, you're completely fucked. There's no way to grow at all.
Yeah, it's like,
and I'm not gonna do that.
Yeah, it's super cringe that, like, I feel like there's 3 big politics streamers now, and it's like Hassan, and then Mike, and then Denims.
Whoa, you're putting Denims up there? Interesting.
She's getting like 700 viewers now that she started her fans house and everything. And she's like a Hassan, like, she'll parrot all of his points and everything. But, like, is there anybody else at that level?
No, but she's just started getting up those numbers. But I thought it was because, like, Hassan's not streaming that day or something. I haven't really been paying attention that much.
No, she's...
But you're right.
She can get like 1,000 viewers now, yeah. And then Mike is doing his thing or whatever, yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you're right. Those are the only people over there that have significant numbers, and not my cup of tea, man.
You two were both at TwitchCon, right?
Yeah.
Did you guys get a chance to meet that porn star before she crushed her spine?
Oh, Adriana Chechik?
Yeah.
No, I'm not in that friend group at all. Nope.
Gotcha.
That sucks for her, though. Holy shit. Apparently she had to, like, abort a pregnancy and everything, too. Jesus.
Yeah. Oh, I thought it just straight up was a miscarriage. But, like, do you think that's going to be a big scandal for Twitch in terms of, like, a payout?
I mean, I imagine they're going to have to pay out, but it's probably going to be a big liability thing, find out who was responsible, right?
Do you think there'll ever be another TwitchCon again? Or, like, will that be the end of it?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, no, of course there will be. There's going to be, like, insurances or something going on, right? I imagine, hopefully, maybe.
Yeah. It's like a vendor's booth or whatever, so I'm sure Twitch will find a way to put it on them, you know? TwitchCon was awesome, man. I tell you, that was a lot of fun.
Was it, because I'm not really up to date on, like, the drama lore, but I thought I saw something to the effect of, did you, IRI, get into you probably didn't scream, but did Haas get into a screaming match with you? Yeah.
I instigated that whole thing because Haas and Jackson walked by and nobody noticed them. And I was like, yo, Haas, I saw him and I brought him over. I wish Destiny was there because it was out front. So that would have been hilarious if Destiny was there. Melina was nearby, but she don't know Haas, so didn't interact. But I just filmed it. I just sat there with my camera filming, laughing. So I thought
So
it was
you're a shit
hilarious.
stirrer then. Then you just
Oh yeah.
yeah. I think when you begin that story with Haas and Jackson were walking by, nobody noticed them. I imagine like that's the worst case scenario for the two of them, like the absolute hellscape. One of my favorite moments of all time in this space is when they tried to pull a Sam Cedar on, I think it was Destiny and Dylan.
Oh yeah.
And Destiny, you didn't even react. That was my favorite part. Just like,
oh yes.
It was so, because Jackson didn't even have anything to say. Oh god, that was so fucking cringe. I feel so bad for him.
And he was
I should have
flexing.
reacted just because of how bad I felt. Yeah.
No, you shouldn't have. You shouldn't have. It was great because it was just like a lot of, and then you were just like, "It's cool, man. How are you?"
Yeah.
It's just funny how Haas crumbles when he's with Destiny, but anybody else, he barks and makes a bunch of noise. But every time he's around Destiny, he's just like little brother mode instantly.
Yeah, he got super ass mad that I didn't shake his hand when I was like outside his house. Oof, his apartment down in LA, I think, or someplace. He carries that with him.
Did you see him? Did you look down?
Was he tall or short? I'm not sure actually. I don't remember. Damn. Hey, listen, short kings. Okay, we don't do those kinds of jokes here.
No, it's okay, man. I'm one too. I get it. I don't know what's funny about some of those groups of people is I was surprised.
Wait. I'm talking about Jackson Hinkle right now, not Haas. That's why. Sorry.
Oh, gotcha. He's tall, right? But
taller.
Fair enough. It just kind of reminds me of the Russia apologia and like the MAGA communism, the stuff like that they have been trying. The Yankee tanky guy, I've seen some of that back and forth. Like, do you think that there is a sincere? I assume it's all grifting, right? You know that phrase that you should never attribute to malice, which you can do to stupidity. I actually just assume people are trolling and don't sincerely believe the things they believe. Is that the case for these Russian apologists that you have seen and that you've debated with? Like, do they genuinely stand for Russia?
Yeah, I think they do.
Gotcha.
Wait, Destiny, you think I can actually get banned on Twitch for duo streaming? Have you ever heard of anybody getting banned for that?
No, but I was thinking for like covering edgy political stuff.
Oh,
but you're pretty safe, so. But you're probably okay.
I think I'll be okay. Yeah, I think you're right. I should try it for sure. Listen, I'm gonna get out of here. I just want to say to you and your audience, like, be patient on the vote results tonight. It's going to take time to count the ballots. These crazy Republicans are going to try to claim victory tonight, and I'm optimistic. I really am. I think that young people are coming out, and we got to see what happens, man. And no matter what, if the Republicans take over the House and the Senate, let's say, I still think we've got Joe Biden in the White House, and I think we come back roaring with a mandate in 2024. So I'm always going to be optimistic for sure about this stuff.
Well, hey, before you dip, I got to know. So, number one, do you think they're going to impeach him? Because Kevin McCarthy was kind of coy about this when he was asked the other day by CNN, of all people. Like, he actually sat down for a CNN interview, and he was kind of coy about whether or not they would impeach Biden. Do you think they will?
I think they will. It's only going to make him stronger because that's what happened with Trump. They're not going to convict him in the Senate. Sure. The only problem is it gums up the process in the Senate because they have to have a trial, which takes like 3 weeks. But I think they're going to do worse. They're going to impeach Mayorkas, the head of DHS. They're going to try to impeach Merrick Garland. They're not going to remove them from office, but it's going to waste time in the Senate again. And those aren't elected officials, so it's not going to benefit them politically.
Yeah. And I assume you also are expecting full Hunter Biden investigations. That'll be the new Benghazi, just one after another.
2 years of Hunter Biden nonstop. Get ready.
Yeah. I don't know if you follow him on Twitter. I think I linked him in chat. You should check him out. Simon Rosenberg. He's an ex Bill Clinton analyst. Yeah. So he's
awesome. Very optimistic.
Yeah. So I was going to say. So he was he's been my source of election optimism, and I know he's like the outlier in the group. He's the dissident, and it seems like he knows what he's talking about. Obviously, he has the CV for it, but do you think there's some copium there, or do you think like he actually has a reasonable case based on the numbers he's crunching?
He's crunching the early vote numbers, which is just data. So I think he's got a reasonable case. There is a path to us winning, not just holding on to the Senate, but the House as well. There is a path. And if we lose, Republicans could have such a small lead in the House that they struggle to govern their own caucus. They're going to have the Freedom Caucus, which is like 40 people of 40 Marjorie Taylor Greens who are nuts. So good luck managing that. You know what I mean? That's not going to be easy.
McCarthy has promised that he's going to give her back a committee assignment, that he's going to put her back
He
on
will.
committees. Yeah.
He's going to put her on oversight. They're going to kick Adam Schiff off intelligence. They're going to kick Ilhan Omar off foreign affairs. They're going to be nasty about it for sure.
The
politics is about to get a lot nastier.
Yes. I feel like it could get worse.
Oh.
Way worse. Watch. It's about to get really gross. Especially if somebody like Carrie Lake wins governor in Arizona. It's about to get nasty. We've never had like election deniers winning high office like that. But again, I'm optimistic.
100. Like that's the other thing. So, people are going to bring up, shit that Stacey Abrams said, when she never formally conceded to Brian Kemp in 2018. And they're going to bring up the fact that in 2019, Hillary Clinton, made the comment that Trump is an illegitimate president, all these false equivalences.
That one interview gets quoted so many times. And I was like, okay, you're going to quote that. You think that's bad. What about these like 7,000 fucking comments that your daddy Trump has made then? And it's like, well, Hillary said this.
But she did it first or whatever. I mean, like that's the thing. It's like, she poked the bear, so it justifies this like, no limiting principle response from the right. But that's the scary thing. I don't know, I feel like we can't afford, just given the sensitive positions that they're in, secretaries of state that they're running for, gubernatorial races, and I just think statewide election officials. You had the guy, is it the Wisconsin Republican candidate, IRI, who flat out said that if he wins, you will never have a Republican lose an election in Wisconsin ever again. Like,
they have said that, yeah.
Holy shit.
It's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine. Even if the worst characters get elected tonight, it will be fine. Trust me. In America, we have like 3,000 elections. We don't have one election. We have like 3,000 elections every county. And so the idea that you're going to coordinate some sort of big scheme and pull off some sort of steal is very slim. So we're going to be just fine.
No, I'm just worried about, the fact that, I guess, like you said earlier, about gumming it up, right? I mean, it's just contributing to further erosion of these principles, and then that becomes the new norm.
Rule changes are scary, but like when you look at the data, I don't think that this is a few studies people linked me that I thought were interesting. It doesn't really seem like there's much that deters people from voting if they want to vote. Like an 8-hour wait time will do it, but a 2 or 3 hour won't. I don't think that the attempting to prevent people from voting is as effective as people thinks it is. And it seems like when people open up elections and want to make it easier to vote, it seems like it tends to actually favor Republicans in rural counties a bit more. So if Republicans try to gum up the process too much, they're just kind of hurting themselves more than they realize it. So I'm not too worried about stuff like that.
Do you think there's a credible case to make? I was having some arguments with people on Twitter earlier today, off and on, about like ballot harvesting, right? Outside of the theory, what is exactly wrong in your opinion, if anything, because they still have to be, they can't be fraudulent, right? I mean, the signatures still have to match, there's still, I mean, there still has to be dated correctly and all these things. To me, it's like the equivalent of handing your completed test to a classmate when they're going up to hand theirs to the teacher, right? So who gives a shit?
Well, the argument is like you could pressure someone to fill out the ballot the way you want, like some old person. So,
or Republicans bitch about
chain of custody,
about ballots being sent proactively to eligible voters. Like they didn't request that ballot. It's like
that's stupid. I don't know why the fuck Republicans complain about that. That's dumb. But the ballot harvesting, I can see where it's like the nice thing about voting is you're supposed to be able to go into a voting booth, do a vote, seal it, and nobody will ever know what you voted for. That's supposed to be your right as an American citizen. And ballot harvesting might tamper with that. Although there are some cases where I can see it maybe being legitimate, like nursing homes, I think is a really good example of that.
Look at you being soft for old people. Unbelievable.
Yeah, true, yeah.
Well, one of the doors I knocked on with Katie Porter, a woman was just laying in the living room in a hospital bed, just sitting there. And so, like that person's not able to vote if they don't have.
Did she vote
access.
IRI?
Yeah. She was fired up. She's like, I'm voting today. And we were like, okay. she's like, yeah, someone's coming today or whatever to, I guess, to help her. But yeah, like we need to make it more accessible for people like that. I mean, literally laying in her living room in a hospital bed, you know?
I love your commitment to democracy. You're so devoted to Democrats that when you canvass, you will interrupt a prayer vigil for a woman in a hospice. You're like, excuse me, ma'am, before you
What?
tip over.
Wait, is this a reference to something? What?
No, it's
Yeah,
what
what
he
is
said. He
this?
says he knocks on the door and he sees a
No.
woman there laying in a
Well, no,
hospital.
she's
was
in a
like-
wheelchair. She's not having like
I
fucking.
thought you said a hospital bed.
No, she was a hospital. She had like a real hospital bed in the middle of her living room, taking up the whole room. But she was still inside her house, just chilling, watching TV in that hospital bed. She might have been dying. I don't know. I didn't ask. Hey, are you almost
Hey,
dead?
listen,
Make
we're
sure
all
you vote
dead.
before you die.
We're all
That's
dying,
true.
right?
Technically, we're all dying.
I mean, this is what you see when you knock doors, which, by the way, Destiny, we may have to have a runoff in Georgia if neither candidate gets over 50%, Raphael Warnock or Herschel Walker.
Again.
It may come down, control of the Senate may come down to Georgia. Your boy, Raphael Warnock, may need your help again, my friend. Did we do it?
Yeah, we'll see. Okay.
That's where, oh my God, that's where you need to complete the Gamer Bible. And then you and Pastor Warnock can proselytize the good news, the good word of Biden, and get him in a second term. I'd be down for that.
I say let's fire up the machine, man. I'll go out there. I'll fly out there for a weekend and knock some doors.
True. We'll think
That,
about it.
that was the one. It was nice being able to do this for this election cycle, knocking on doors and canvassing. I was expecting, because it's a new state that I moved to. I haven't been here very long, and it's very red. But didn't have a single negative reaction with everybody, or with anybody rather.
Do you think there'd be two? Would there be two runoffs again? Is that possible?
Well, I don't think the governor race is going to go to a runoff, but only one Senate race is on the line this time, as
Yeah.
opposed to when we were out there.
Because it was
Both of
like
them were.
yeah.
Ossoff isn't running for re-election. I mean, he's not up for re-election right
He
now.
won a
right?
full term, yeah.
Yeah.
No.
You know what?
It's
If
just
there's a
Warnock.
runoff, yeah, we'll do it. We'll go.
Whoa!
I'll
Did I
make
just
that-
get
you
to
got?
commit to
I'll
this?
make that commitment to you right
Yeah.
now, IRI. Okay. Yeah. If there's a runoff,
We'll do
do
what?
it. If there's a runoff, we'll do another canvassing thing. At least I'll commit to one event. Maybe
One
two.
weekend.
Yeah.
One
Maybe
weekend.
two,
That's
maybe
it.
two, yeah.
Damn! You guys heard it here first.
That's
Awesome.
right. It's
I would love to go out
breaking
there and hit
news.
some doors.
Breaking news. That'd be
There we
great.
go.
That's
When
great.
are they?
All right.
What's the projection? Hey, the projection before? Are they saying it'll be a couple of days before the votes are completely tallied?
Yeah, we got a lot of mail-in ballots to count. Some states like Florida should have 99% of the results by the end of the night. State like Virginia will, because they're able to open them beforehand. But some states don't even open ballots before today. So it's going to be like 4 days or so till we know. And we may determine who controls the House may come down to like California, like districts like Katie Porter's. And so that's going to take maybe 2 weeks even to count. So it could be a while before we know what really happens.
Gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
all right. It's nice
All right,
talking
listen.
to you, buddy.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Destiny. Thanks so much for giving us this time to talk some politics. I know people in the community were dying to hear your thoughts and hear you engage in this, so
You
it was
guys
cool,
wanted
man.
to, keep me programmed, so thanks a lot. Keep me stuck in
All
the
right.
matrix.
See you,
Hell yeah.
IRI.
Okay,
I'm gonna hang out for just a bit more to pick your
Yeah,
brain,
have fun.
Destiny.
I'm gonna use the
I'll
red
talk to you guys later.
All right. See you,
So-
IRI. Guy. What's up, chat? This is not working. Rare politics stream. Yeah, it's nice. IRI's a cool dude. I love him on all the panels that, well, I guess they're not around anymore, but like the Hippy Dippy podcast and all that. He was really, really good. It's good to see that he's more active on YouTube too. Thanks for coping with us, girl's name. Listen, I'm a cynic by nature, so I don't share IRI's optimism. I expect that there will be a red wave. I was shocked that the Senate would be competitive for the longest time. It seemed like we would maintain our advantage there. So I don't share his optimism. I'm expecting the worst. But I guess best case scenario, President Biden still has, the power of the veto, and it's extremely unlikely that Republicans would be able to caucus sufficiently with Democrats to be able to break his veto for legislation, even though Republicans really aren't big on legislation in the first place. So Ruminate, what made you pick that name? Honestly, in hindsight, I wish I picked a different name. Ruminate, like the slogan of the channel is pondering politics and pop culture, because I'm like a really big pop culture geek. But just with the political climate, I've been spending more time ranting about politics on TikTok and YouTube. But the spelling of ruminate, the Ruminate, was taken. And for some stupid reason, what I should have done was RUMIN number 8, but I just stupidly added the number 1 instead. And so like when I get in conversations with people on TikTok, they're like, what's a RUM1N8? And I'm like, oh, Jesus. So you got to do like the whole phonetic alphabet, but... What I think about the Ohio race, that's not looking good. Last time I checked, J.D. Vance was up by 10 points, which is baffling, right? Because he is so unlikable. And you want to talk about like a breakneck change, right? He was actually like a very outspoken Trump critic for like the first few years of Trump's term. And then he just did a 180, man, like embarrassing, like Ted Cruz level sycophant. And so between that and the fact that he has an elitist background, and Tim Ryan is a pretty competent politician, he's been really good with the campaign, he's been doing his part to distance himself from President Biden and the Democrats. I'm surprised, I really am surprised that J.D. Vance was leading by like 10 points. See. Come to DGG. I don't know what that means. I think I am in DGG, right? I'm here in the server. Would you mind hopping off the call? You're pretty sleepsy. I think I'm going to stick around even longer now. The House and Senate always flop around. It's really tough on incumbent majorities from everything I've ever seen. Yeah, no, that's true. I mean, that's the historic trend. But you would think, given that the stakes are higher than they've ever been, that some of those trends would deviate. Not really. Thoughts on Arizona? The Carrie Lake thing. I mean, IRI is right. Carrie Lake she's probably... I think you could make the argument that Carrie Lake is the single scariest GOP candidate, somebody who's not a sitting member of Congress already. She's terrifying. Hot, though. I mean, she's attractive for an older woman. But you want to talk... Like, you just absolutely... Like, her pupils don't dilate. She's crazy. She drank the Kool-Aid. That's scary. And she's very hostile to the press. She's able to weaponize a lot of Trump's aspects, I think, very well. She's able to appropriate them. So she's hostile to the press. She knows how to be hostile to the press in a way that engenders her to her base. I think in a way that even like Marjorie Taylor Greene doesn't. And yeah, she's a really good campaigner. And that's another one that's kind of scary, right? She's running against Katie Hobbs, and she's leading. She has that fluoride stare. Yeah. Thoughts on the Brazilian election? I thought it was cool that Lula won. I was legitimately expecting Bolsonaro to not begin the transfer of power process. I guess he still hasn't formally conceded, but it says something. I mean, he kind of like holed up in his mansion, his compound for a few days and was like radio silent. And I was expecting him to pull a Trump, but so far he hasn't. He may, with his remaining time in office, but unlike Trump, he immediately authorized, or like within a few days, authorized his chief of staff to begin the transfer process to get Lula back in power, which is pretty based, as you would say. Bolsonaro tried to close I think that members of Bolsonaro's administration, like the military was getting involved with like shutting down traffic or whatnot to try to obstruct voter turnout. That's pretty fucked up, obviously. But again, the fact that he has authorized the transfer process and has not, denied the election results, that's huge. Talk about Bolsonaro.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. So I know, obviously, you've done this a time or two. Are you pretty confident?
Let me stop and start the recording 1 second.
Oh, sure.
Okay. What are you asking?
Now, are you pretty confident, given that you're going to be the either the lone wolf among the sheep or the lone sheep among the wolves? Do you even give a shit at this point?
Oh, it's just going to be like a fun, like, we're going to watch some of the results come in and chat a little bit. I don't think that there are no serious arguments in favor of the Republican Party right now. It's a fucking joke.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But I don't know. It'll just be a matter of whether or not I can, like, keep my cool in the face of, like, unending stupidity, or if I lose my cool and then start going for YouTube clips, I guess.
The TikTok stuff's growing too. Like, I don't know if I assume you're not editing it yourself, but those videos are excellent. Does he take care of those as well?
No, I've got I have 2 TikTokers. I've got an official guy that runs Destiny debates. There's a new competitor in the ring who does I think it's like Destiny Clips HQ or something. And
I thought then you must have 3, because you have, and I hope I'm not like outing anything, but you have one under your official name, and you've got the little check mark, and then you've got Destiny debates. And now you got a third one.
I know one too. That yeah.
Right.
But yeah, there's a few. Yeah, there's a ton of them. Yeah.
Gotcha. No, I was just telling your chat, not really. I don't share IRI's optimism at all. I'm a cynic by nature, so I expect that it will be a red wave. But boy, man,
for sure, that's what most of the polling seems to show. Yeah.
You, because you were following this pretty obsessively during the the first Trump cycle, and then obviously in 2020, the guy I referenced, Simon Rosenberg, like he'll talk about how, and he's like, he is the biggest Democrat optimist with respect to pollsters, but he talks about how Republicans and these right-leaning pollsters have been flooding the zone. Those are his words, with these biased polls to try to discourage turnout. Like, hey, it's inevitable, this red wave.
I don't believe that's a real thing. I don't think I would ever believe that, because that's your credibility on the line, right? And if you keep fucking up over and over again, people aren't going to watch your polls. So I don't think people are ever faking polls.
Yeah, it seemed perplexing to me, because I remember, like, 538, they're just an aggregator, and they got put through the ringer in the last election cycle, right? I mean, there were a lot of people saying Nate Silver doesn't know what he's talking about, because the projections were that Trump was going to win in a landslide, and it turned out to be very different. And then they projected that Republicans were going to win Georgia comfortably, and all these things. So it seems like there's like this ubiquitous distrust of polls that I don't recall, and not just on the right, but also on the left, in ways that I don't remember, during Obama's first, second term, and even the first Trump term, or the first Trump election. I don't remember. Like, it seemed like people were pretty quick to hold these.
People were just mad that, like, Trump was predicted. There was that one WAPO projection that was so bad that showed Hillary winning like 99-1 or something.
Do you do the betting markets, right? Like, you look a lot to the betting markets as far as like how elections will go, or am I making that up?
I used to. Yeah, they're interesting. I think they're instructive. Yeah, I think that's they can be. Yeah.
Are they? Do they tend to follow the polls, or are there like these critical deviations? Like, are they a completely different source of information, or they affirm the polling data?
I haven't looked recently. I'm not a midterm kind of guy. I'm a primary election kind of dude. So I haven't followed it much these times. Predict It used to be one. I don't know if they got like in trouble and they're like cutting down now or what, but
Predict It. I'll have to check that out. Yeah, I don't know. I was telling them too that the upshot is obviously that they'll never get. I shouldn't say never. It's extremely unlikely that the GOP will get a veto-proof majority, and that they won't be able to caucus with enough people to overcome Biden's veto. So that's good. But
we have right now for controlling the Senate right now, the betting markets have it at about 80-20 in favor of Republicans.
Oh shit! So
it's pretty big odds. If you really think the Democrats are going to win, you got 5.
Oh no, yeah. Like I said, I was telling them too. It was really heartbreaking, because it's bad enough the idea that just one chamber under control of Republicans, because House Republicans have been even less willing to cooperate with Biden than Senate Republicans. Like, that's the kind of the great irony here, is that Mitch McConnell is considered the Grim Reaper of progress and legislation, but he's worked with Biden far more and has been far more willing to do it than McCarthy has. So, like, McCarthy has assumed that role. And you almost get the impression, or at least I do, that McConnell probably hates McCarthy, like probably thinks he's an idiot, but
Maybe. And he probably has at least some respect for Biden, right? How long did they work together?
forever.
Did they share?
Yeah, like decades. As a matter of fact, did you know that I think it was McConnell's idea to name a piece of legislation after Beau Biden, when Beau Biden died, and he gave the speech, McConnell did, on the floor of the Senate, that they've decided to name the bill after Beau Biden in front of Joe Biden, and Joe Biden started crying. So I don't know. I mean, it's hard to think of that withered old vampire as being, sincere at all. But I do think McConnell.
Politically true. That's what he does.
Would you describe McConnell as an institutionalist, given that he's been willing to break norms, or do you think like he's a surgical anti-institutionalist? Like, how would you describe him?
I don't know. It's hard to more so than Trump for sure. The filibustering thing is so weird, and the nuclear option and the Supreme Court judge, just because that was like a back and forth that had gone on for so long. I wouldn't put him on the same level as Trump.
No, I agree with that. Actually, I think that even among sitting members of Congress, that McConnell is more hesitant to break traditions unless he is convinced that it's the winning hand, and then of course principle goes out the window. But I think somebody like Ted Cruz would gladly part with norms and traditions much quicker than McConnell. But that could be that sycophant energy.
I feel like Cruz is more principled, but like who the fuck knows, dude? It's hard. It's really hard to make these predictions. I'm not sure, right?
Do you think, given the tension between Trump and DeSantis, that do you still think that DeSantis will not try to get in Trump's way and seek the nomination himself?
It just feels so self-destructive to both of them, and Trump doesn't care. So like you're playing chicken with a guy that's suicidal. Would DeSantis do it? Because like if DeSantis, this is just, and it's just a feeling. These are all feelings. None of this is polling data. The feeling that I have is that DeSantis is a politician with a political future and probably some kind of care for himself and the Republican Party. Trump has no care whatsoever. Do you want to oppose somebody like Trump when you're trying to run, when this guy doesn't give a fuck? He'll burn down the whole house and not give a fuck about anything.
Yeah, like Joker energy. Just he'll take the whole house out.
He doesn't give a fuck about anybody but himself and his legacy. That's it. I don't know if he cares about his legacy. I think he just cares about himself in the now.
So then you've got the contrary position that says, okay, well, yeah, DeSantis is too shrewd to get to play chicken with somebody like Trump, who clearly doesn't care about I think you make the argument that in some ways Trump doesn't even care about power so much as like his own aggrandizement, right? Like
which comes with power,
right, but I mean, like, power itself is not its own end, right? He would rather not be, I think he would rather just not be humiliated than not be, like, he would rather resist a blow to his ego than be in power. And I feel like DeSantis is the opposite. I think like DeSantis will gladly subordinate himself. Like, I don't know if you ever saw his campaign ads when he ran for governor. I think it was in 2018. He was like these creepy ass campaign ads where he's reading like Trump related fairy tales to his kids. Like super cringe, like for real. Check it out. Like, it's like, and then Mr. President said, "What about her emails?" Like, super creepy. And and Trump would never do that. Trump would never kiss someone else's ass in a really
if he
meaningful
loses,
way.
he's out. He's not fucking campaigning for fucking any of that shit. No, he'll just leave. He'll bounce immediately, of course.
So then the question becomes, okay, if DeSantis is willing to subordinate himself and his ego, and because he's thinking 2028 or whatever it is, would Trump accept him as a VP candidate? Or is it like, no, this guy is too close to my popularity, I don't want to bring him into the fold?
Yeah, that's
you know what I mean?
Pence is really good because Pence is really quiet, and he's never going to be like stealing the limelight from Trump. I don't know if Trump thinks about that much. Yeah, I don't know. I also don't know, and this is my ignorance of just people. Like, would you choose somebody from Florida? Don't you usually want to shore up? I know Florida went to Obama, but like, are Republicans really at a risk so much for losing Florida that they would pick DeSantis for the VP pick? Or would you go for somebody from more of a swingy state?
My understanding, yeah, I mean, I agree that the conventional wisdom is that you would pick a running mate who compensates where you're weak. But I mean, and I'd have to, I guess, brush up on my data, but you look at Vice President Harris, I don't think she brought anything to the table that Biden didn't already have, except maybe women. Like, he was really popular. Right. He was more popular with African Americans than she was, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know what she brought to the table. And as a matter of fact, you
People
know,
are saying you can't choose a VP from the same state as the president. Is that like a rule? Why people are saying you can't do that?
no, I don't. I'm not aware of any like campaign related rule that says because Trump resides in Florida, but he's not like from there, and I don't know. I'm not aware of a rule like that. Let me check. Maybe they
Okay,
mean
no,
like a realpolitik rule.
I don't know why people in chat were saying that.
Can
Gab
you
5.
a VP from the same state?
It's a rule Cheney had to change his state. No, they usually just choose one from another state because they'll have a bigger bit. Yeah.
Yeah. But like there are people, and I think it might have been actual
That's
Justice
actually
Warrior.
true. Wait, what was the rationale for choosing Harris? Other than to maybe short progressive votes, but they're not going to Trump.
He made a commitment. Biden made obviously he made the commitment that he was going to pick a woman vice president, and I think at the time there was it was Warren, Harris, and then imagine this bizarre world, Tulsi Gabbard, right, or Amy Klobuchar, but two of them are white, one's super old. Tulsi was persona non grata with the Democratic Party, not popular at all. So I don't know if it was just, hey, I said that I'd pick a woman and she was the least. Yeah, but she was even then, if I remember correctly, she had a brief boost after the first debate when she went after Biden on the busing thing. Mm-hmm. But she's never been very popular. Like, even now, I think that she still has lower popularity than Biden does. So, I don't know. I feel like the conventional wisdom would be that Trump should pick DeSantis, but I just don't think that Trump's ego would tolerate bringing a near peer or a rival or someone who's seen as the next Trump, the better Trump by some people. I don't, you know what I mean? Even though it might make more sense to close ranks and have a ticket of the two strongest people.
Yeah, I agree.
Do you think he'll run? Trump?
Oh, do I think Trump will run?
Yeah.
Feels like it.
Right. I don't know. Like it seems weird to me.
Why would he be like campaigning and doing all this shit right now if he wasn't?
I feel like it's weird that he's delayed so long. Like so you read some commentary and they'll say things like because he lost last time and by a pretty reasonable margin. I think most if then else, hypotheticals say that Biden stands the best chance of all the GOP candidates they could field in 2024. Biden stands the best chance of beating Trump again, and so some of the people were arguing that Trump would not want to run if he was fairly convinced he would lose again. So that's part of the reason why he's hesitated to announce himself. I feel like he has no choice but to run now, given that Merrick Garland is clearly coming for him.
I don't think it's. Would he really make the decision based off that?
I feel like saving his ass is the single most important calculus he has. But well, look, man. Good luck later on. I will be. You're going to be streaming it here, I assume.
I hope so. I should be able to. Yeah.
Good. I'm looking forward to it, and I left you some notes and some links in the server in case a debate comes out. But thanks for having me, and good luck tonight.
Yeah, have fun. Be careful, buddy.
All right. See ya.